Hey everybody, this is Robert Gibson, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, and I'd like to invite everybody out September the 21st in Jackson, Tennessee for the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can also go to memphiswrestlinghalloffame.com and get your tickets.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
It is 4 days away from the biggest gathering of Memphis wrestling in many, many years. It's a night to remember, and it's Saturday night in Jackson, Tennessee. Hello again, everybody. I'm sure everybody watching thinking, what in the world is ORH coming in the house this early? We're 1 hour early. It's because a fantastic interview I conducted earlier this morning from Brandon Baxter, Power Pro Wrestling. Fantastic talk, fantastic interview. I want to say hello to Tanner. I want to say hello to B.C. Collins, coming in 4 days to Jackson, Tennessee, to a night to remember. Excited about that. I want to also say hello to Tanner. Hadn't been on in a while. Thomas Lemon, loved the fact they were rocking and rolling all night long. Todd Alexander says hello as well. I think we have a birthday wish today to do, and right after we do that, we'll get into our great 1 hour and 42-minute interview. Folks, how about this? A May 2017 member of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, Jim Cornette. It's his 63rd birthday. That's a great graphic, a great picture. Jim Cornette, happy birthday to you. Now, let me explain one other thing. I think I have a caption for this today. Today at 8:15, referee Jerry Calhoun will be our special guest. Kevin Fowler, what is going on with you? Al Tuttle, my man, Al Tuttle is in the house as well. Tonight at 8:15, Jerry Calhoun. Also, right at 8 o'clock, we should be joined by Pat Trammell, and Michael St. John is going to do a run-in. My buddy Pat, my buddy Al Tuttle is in the house as well. And now I explain to you what in the world is going on today. First time ever I've done this. This morning I pre-recorded a lengthy 1 hour and about 40-minute interview with Brandon Baxter that I thought was just tremendous. It's just fantastic. It's a long form interview. It's the first of the kind I've ever done. It was exciting to me to do. It was emotional at times. It was just great. So we have that 1 hour, 40-minute interview, and then we'll restart talking Memphis wrestling, and we have Jerry Calhoun in the house. We go back to this morning about 10:30 Central Standard Time. Here I am talking to Brandon Baxter, and I'll be able to comment in the comment section to you. I will not be talking over this interview because I think it's interesting, and I would love to be hearing and seeing comments from Team Hales of how you like this, and tell me if you've learned anything in this interview at all, Al Tuttle. And you can tell the connection. As Eddie Austin says, hello, Randy from Jackson, Tennessee. He'll be in Jackson in a few days, and so will we. Also, Kevin Fowler says, enjoyed listening to you on the Doug Gilbert podcast. Did a great job. I appreciate that very much. Now, here is the Brandon Baxter interview. 5 years of shows. First time I've done this. We are recording earlier in the day because this guy is busy and he's doing family stuff at night. Once again, we're proud to have here on Talking Memphis Wrestling, Brandon Baxter. You had more technical problem, and this is your livelihood than I did. I was right here. Where were you?
If you want to go ahead and go there, the initial link that you sent me was the link to sign up for a brand new account. So,
So it's always my fault.
I was a tad bit confused at the way that started, but yeah. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. I haven't had the chance to be on with you as much as we probably would have thought. We live crazy lives and busy, and I'm doing a million different things in Arkansas, but it's always cool to be able to reconnect and talk about one of our favorite topics, which of course is Memphis wrestling.
Before we do it, in case somebody's been living in a cave and don't know who we are, I'm Randy Hills, the owner, founder, president, Power Pro Wrestling. My guest, my friend, is a former USWA manager. He was a Power Pro Wrestling original and the right-hand man to me in that company. Also, he's currently the Big Cheese at the Arkansas Morning Show with Brandon and Kelly. He's the program director. He's the operation guy. And also the thing that impresses me the most, because it's the most people in person that can see you these days, is that you're the in-game host of Arkansas State University Red Wolf Athletics. Let's start there. Wolves up, man.
Yep.
How fun is that?
It's the closest thing that I get to do to being in the wrestling business on a regular basis, as far as being able to be out in front of a live crowd. And, sometimes like the most recent 2 games we've had at home, the football games, 20,000 people, which, there's a rush of performing live in front of that many people and no net and just being live, and the fact that the crowd kind of gives back. And the neat thing about what I get to do, and I think the thing that's I've kind of worked myself into a little bit of a situation, is it's the energy, and people talk, man, he used to be a wrestler, and you kind of have to do it like wrestling wise, like an old school interview. So I have the chance to kind of do a little bit of that, on Saturdays when football's at home, and for A-State men's basketball as well. It's turned into something that's been really special. I'm going into my 10th year as the host of A-State Athletics.
And you're doing, I'm so proud of you. I really am. All the great stuff you do, for sure. Every once in a while, you call me to do a phone interview, and of course, you make me out to be the idiot every time. Who knows? Maybe I'll make myself out to be the idiot, right?
I feel like I just gave a Lawler type of response, either a Jerry Lawler or a Kevin Lawler, the, hey, whatever happens kind of happens type of thing, But yeah, that's the one thing that's great about what I have now is I have control of all the buttons.
Right.
Right here below me is the radio console that we use, the board, and I have control of everything. So if I want somebody to sound silly, I can make him sound silly. Or like typically, because it's kind of how we do it, I'll make, I guess I make a lot of fun of myself too. That's part of life.
And that's funny. You tell life stories, and you were talking about all kinds of stuff this morning. You always talk about your family, and we both have, as you say, live separate lives. I have not been, or you haven't been to my house. The 5 years I've lived here, I hadn't seen your wife except at my nephew's wedding. I hadn't seen Kai since he was probably 10 years old. And what is he, 15?
He turns 15 in, 7 days, 8 days. He's on the 25th. I don't even know what day it is right now, but on the 25th, I have a 15-year-old. He has his driver's permit, which for those of you who have kind of lost track of me, who are Memphis wrestling fans and haven't seen me since either the USWA or Power Pro, it's a little bit different, to think about, hey, he's a husband, he's a dad of a 15-year-old. It's pretty neat though. He's at a special age. I love the idea of, having a teenager, even though I look back and I still wish he was little, so we could keep him in the house forever. But it's cool to have that relationship with a 15-year-old kid too. A little bit like his dad.
Is he a little bit temperamental at times?
Temperamental, argumentative, a little bit headstrong, all the different things. But, as far as like the greatest joys in life, that's, he's the greatest joy.
Is it kind of pitiful that the greatest joy in my life is Brandon Baxter? I'm prouder, and I'm close to my family, but I'm so damn proud of you. Now, I could be jealous, and we worked an angle one time that I complained and I was mad because your billboard was up in Jonesboro, my hometown, and we did a bit and we drew some money off of that. But honest to God, I am so proud of you, and you do a fantastic job.
I appreciate that. And I think, you owe a lot of the credit to you for giving me opportunities in this area that I didn't have. If it wasn't for you hiring me to come here in 1995 to work for the USWA, I would have never had the chance to come to Jonesboro to meet the people that I met through Power Pro. And then literally when the Power Pro job was over, we had made radio contacts in Jonesboro in Northeast Arkansas. I called those people and said, hey, I'm about to move back to Texas unless there's some type of a radio thing for me. And here we are. What am I reflecting back on? This is 2024. So that's 23 years ago. I plan on going back home. I plan on going back to Texas, and we'll see what's going to happen. Probably work for my grandfather's car lot, and it's turned into a totally different life and a really awesome life. So thank you for the opportunity, for the exposure, and for all the lessons that you gave me over the years, and how to be smart and how to present myself.
It's just fantastic. So proud of you. Right now, I wanted everybody to know that Brandon has helped me a lot behind the scenes with the Night to Remember in Jackson, Tennessee. It's this Saturday night. The meet and greet starts at 3:30 in the afternoon. He'll probably tell me now something come up and he can't be there because I know that's coming next. So get out of the way. I know you, man.
No, okay. I'll be there at some point it's this week. Is that right?
Yes, it's Saturday night.
I'm like a lot of people. I'm excited to have the opportunity to be there, to be invited to be there. For me, I'm going to go like a fan. Even though I had the opportunity to do the stuff that I did, when I look at who you've brought back in, like I'm a fan of these people, these human beings, these talents that we've all watched for all these different years. I'm flattered to be there, and I'm going to have a good time. I don't think it's anything about, me. It's me going to reconnect with people I really care about.
And I think that's fantastic. You've helped with the media. You produced a radio spot, a 1 minute, 60-second radio spot. Then we decided we needed a 30-second TV spot. So Michael St. John with Adam Dunn edited it, put it together. Michael did the voiceover. And then what Adam did is he took your audio and cut it up a little bit from the 1 minute spot to make a 30-second spot. I don't know if I sent this to you or not, but we're going to watch Brandon Baxter audio as here's the video for A Night to Remember. Here we go.
Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. It will be a night to remember. Be there for the Fan Fest meet and greet at 3:30, featuring Jerry the King Lawler, Superstar Bill Dundee, the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Jerry Calhoun, Michael St. John, and more. The legends of Memphis Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. Tickets are on sale now. Go to Eventbrite and search Official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Now, you're your biggest critic at 100%, and then Riley, my biggest critic as well. That's just
no. That's a terrible thing to say.
No, how many other people would I listen to? Maybe Lawler and you about a performance. That's it. At
this point, yeah. You can be a little hard-headed. I've heard that, that maybe you're a little hard-headed.
But you admitted about 5 minutes ago, you and Kai are both hard-headed.
Maybe that's why it works. Yeah.
Do you blame me?
For me being hard-headed?
Yeah.
Maybe being particular, but I think it's good because it shows passion and that you care. Like when I get aggravated at something we do on the radio, I'm like, we could have done that better. And here's how we could have done it better. I always feel like you have to stay hungry and you have to have that drive to always want to get better and improve. So.
We could talk 100 years. There's so much. Of course, USWA in 95, a great decision and funny story. Just got a thing in the mail, called you, and ended up bringing you in. You were brought in 95 on just a non-paid. I said, if you want to get to tell me if I'm right. I think I said, hey, if you can get to Memphis, I can give you a trial. I can test you out on television, and didn't promise you any money or a job or anything. Is that true?
Yeah, no, that's how I remember it too. My first TV was June the 3rd of 1995. Literally, I just graduated high school, days before, I think, from the way I remember it. And it was to come in and see if it was going to work. And in my first deal, I was in the crowd at Channel 5 and came out and was talking bad about the legends of Memphis wrestling because we were headed into Memphis Memories too at that point in 95. I was real negative about, all the people. Nobody wanted to see the old guys anymore. And out comes Jerry Lawler. And really, you could have written me off after that TV if you wanted, based on the way that we did that, because he slapped me. I crawled off. If I would have never showed back up, that wouldn't have been untypical of Memphis. People came through and they left all the time. So the idea that I got the call back and was able to stay for a little over a year, some of the greatest days of my life were that run from 1995 to 1996, because there was so little pressure on me as far as, I guess there were expectations and we needed to draw money. But as far as me understanding that, I think it was, hey, let's go have fun and be in the wrestling business and work 6 or 7 days a week. And I wish I had that opportunity now. It was such a learning period in my life. And I'll forever look back at that time like one of the greatest times of my life.
I'm gonna get heat with you right now, but this should be a good bit. This should be a good bit. I'm gonna post some pictures up, and then I want you to, first off, quick take, and we'll go through about 4 or 5 pictures. Quick take number 1.
Oh gosh, young Texas kid about to fall in love with pro wrestling. A mom who was super brave and raising 3 kids after my dad passed away. Innocent young Brandon before any vices came in. Oh, teen beat, awkward 14 or 15-year-old Brandon getting to be in the venue that I watch wrestling in, the Dallas Sportatorium, trying to be on TV on ESPN and really producing some pretty horrible content when I look back on it, but a great opportunity from people like Joe Pedicino and a guy named Video Bob Von Gursky. And great memories, great people in Dallas. I think about them often, about those people who really helped me, like Skandar Akbar and Mike Davis, and people who jumped out. Oh, goodness.
This is a look that I remember.
Yeah, so that's 1995. I don't know if that's either backstage at the Coliseum or at the Louisville Gardens, because we had photographers at both. But yeah, terrible outfit. The idea was get heat. And obviously with the hair and the jacket and the no shirt and about 140 pounds, I knew how to get heat. Some of it was unintentional, possibly. But that's quite a look.
How about this one? I'm beating your ass up right now.
You're beating me up. And what is Stacy coming in to try to help me at that point? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just a spot show? That's or is that TV?
That looks like TV. That looks like a still shot that somebody got from TV, though, because it looks pretty cool.
What is she trying to do to me?
Well, there was a deal at one point where, if we think back, I came in to be a heel, a bad guy, and then, you basically tried to take my spot and wanted to be the top heel. So I had to segue over to being a babyface. And there was a time where Stacy and I don't remember doing a whole lot with her, but as far as being both baby faces at the same time. So I don't really remember exactly what we were doing there. And it's funny how you can have those things and not remember what the whole deal was. Like, I remember having matches with her all over the area, and we had some real fun matches. But as far as us like teaming up, I don't remember doing that. We
did a lot because the way our deal started was I was anti-Lawler and anti-her and blaming her, and I was threatening her, and you told her you tried even though you were a heel, you tried to defend her and say, Randy, don't mess with her. You were trying to protect her being a gentleman.
Yeah.
I ended up beating you up, right?
Yeah, and that's probably around the time we did the trash can deal where I got thrown in the trash and you beat me up and you trash talk my family situation and all of that. But yeah,
we both regret that.
Yeah. But at the time when you're in it, and maybe people don't think about it kind of like we did, and maybe we wouldn't even think about it like that now. But, what people forget about Power Pro, this was a day where the television ratings would come in, and I can't remember if we got them, I think probably on a Monday morning. Yeah. And literally we tracked it. We looked at each quarter hour. We didn't have the minute by minutes back in 98, 99, but we could see quarter hours and what was trending. And, we knew that we had to deliver content on a regular basis to keep Channel 5 happy and their advertisers happy. And I think some of the stuff when we get critiqued for some of the stuff in Power Pro, literally, that was one of the things that I was responsible for, was tracking what was getting attention as far as television viewers from the numbers that we got from Channel 5.
Brandon Baxter with us, talking Memphis wrestling, talking old times, and talking the Power Pro days. I love this one.
Oof, goodness, that is terrible.
Do you think that's terrible?
No, it's awful. But shout out to James Estes, because he's the guy who had taught me how to use Photoshop. And he did that in literally 1998, and I still use it to this day, all these years later. So shout out to James, who I haven't seen in forever. But I remember taking that picture at Channel 5, and then he would cut the background out. He showed me with the dots how to get it cut out perfectly. The whole idea of the Gadzooks stretchy shirt, like super tight with the really baggy jeans right there. And those, I can't tell if those are Hilfiger jeans, but that's an embarrassing look. And the crazy thing was, like, that gets heat with me watching it now. But I was wearing that when I was a baby face. Like, I thought I was looking good and that the girls were going to think that was decent.
And they did.
Well, yeah, maybe a few. Not nearly to the level that I would have liked.
See, I think you're being picky. I think that was great. And we're going to do one more. We've talked about young Brandon. We're going to talk about current Brandon. And you can plug your podcast, the EAB app, and everything. I want you to talk a minute about this right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that happened after, wrestling was radio. And I've been lucky enough to be on the air for over 9 years with my tag team partner on the radio, Kelly Perry, and we've developed a show and a chemistry I think that's really special. Our morning show, which originally was just in Jonesboro in Northeast Arkansas and Southeast Missouri. I mean, radio station has reach and we have a really big signal, but our morning show now airs in Jonesboro in Northeast Arkansas. It airs in Little Rock and Conway, in Russellville, Arkansas, in Morrilton, Arkansas, in Stuttgart, Arkansas, and Dumas, Arkansas. We're about to add another market. So we've seen a lot of growth over the last 2 years with the morning show being picked up in different markets. So, whenever we talk to somebody and say, hey, you're going to be on our show, we can literally say, you're getting more than half of the state of Arkansas when you come on with us. So real proud of that. The podcast goes up every day. It's essentially the radio show without the music and the commercials. And you can find that anywhere you get podcasts. Just search Arkansas's Morning Show with Brandon and Kelly.
And if they want to listen for 4 hours or however long it is every morning, Monday through Friday, tell them how to search for the EAB app. I believe that's what I listen on if I'm not in the car.
No, that's the easiest way to do it because, again, we're on so many different stations. You guys can go to the EAB Media Group app and select the station you want to hear or click through to podcasts and stuff like that. So, again, we're on K-Fine in Jonesboro in Northeast Arkansas. We're on River Country 102.3 KCJC in Russellville. We're on Country 97.3 in Stuttgart. I'm trying to remember them all. We're on Y107 in Little Rock and Conway. So, and 96.9 in Dumas. And about to add another one. So I think I got them all. You're making me do this by recall at this point. And I'm like, oh no.
I'm fascinated, as you know, my original deal when I was 10 years old, I'd walk around with a pencil as a microphone, Best Country, WMC 79, or KNEA was a AM 970. You guys have that as a sports station now. But I grew up on radio, and I still like listening to your show, obviously. I listen to the Front Row with Bud Rowe, the afternoon show, The Drive. I listen to a lot of radio, but I listen to a lot of satellite radio, too. I'll listen on Sirius FM to the Dan Patrick Show. I just listen to a lot of music on Sirius Radio. So how has radio changed for now, what we're at right now today, than where we were at when you started? What's the changes?
Oh, it's huge, drastic. So when I started, it was 2001. And at that point, most radio stations at that point were trying to start to develop websites, and maybe your personality picture would be on there. And there was no way to listen live. It was it's really primitive when you think about the way that started. And now with what radio is, I mean, you're seeing visuals of your favorite radio personalities, and the connection is different as far as just how we reach people. So of course we can reach them through the radio, through all the digital platforms, through the streams, the podcast. There's so many different ways to reach out to people. One of the things, and I just had this conversation with one of our coworkers via text this morning. I was talking about how spoken word content, which could be, the old AM style or sports talk shows or stuff like that, and podcasts are really kind of back. It's kind of like the cool thing. Music is available everywhere, for free, basically, or you pay $4 and you can get all the songs you want whenever you want and play them, in the order that you want. But with spoken word, with podcasts and stuff like that, I think we're seeing a resurgence of people wanting to hear conversations and connection with their favorite talents. And I think that's going to be where radio needs to go as we move forward is we have to really build those connections with the listeners as far as who your favorite personalities are.
I think it's fascinating. The show I've been doing for 5 years, and I use Restream to do that thing. And you see the set in the background, and you see we can do video. You can do a lot of stuff. The video quality of what we do now, that's probably a $200 camera, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
$200. To get a video signal like this in 1993, the cameras would have been $25,000 or more.
Right. Yeah. And now you have the opportunity, you know, let's say you're a young talent who's trying to figure out your way. You don't necessarily, I mean, obviously it's good to go to places to learn how to work, but like you can actually get exposure through your own digital platforms. You have to be smart about how you do it, and that's what we have the capability of doing. So what's going to be the next wave, I think, is what we have to think about. Like, how does this evolve into the next thing?
And since you're currently in the media, you have to stay ahead of the curve or you'll be left behind.
Yeah, and I think radio, you know, we've all been told forever that radio was going to die, right? So, I mean, MTV was going to kill radio in 82 or 83, right? Video killed the radio star. And we just found different ways to evolve and adapt and, you know, adding streams and apps and digital dashboards. And as far as being able to listen to the station, not necessarily over the over air signal, but maybe you can, you know, plug in and listen through the EAB Media Group app or the podcast. It's the evolution. And again, I think what we're going to figure out is that the most important thing as far as what we're going to do in an era where music is available everywhere at your fingertips, you know, again, being a person, being somebody that can build a relationship with an audience is going to be more important than anything else we can do.
I had an Uber ride this morning early, and it blows my mind every time. I can't tell you how many people I take to high school in the mornings, how many people miss the bus and they call a Uber when we used to walk or whatever we did. But it's funny. Well, I had the radio on and I had the morning show on, and y'all were being silly. And it was funny, and I laughed out loud, and they were laughing out loud. They said, "What is this? This is funny. This is great. What kind of radio station is it?" I said, "Well, the format's country music." They said, "I like country music, but those people are funny." Said those people are funny, and so I do my best to expose Brandon, Baxter, and Kelly in the mornings, but it's just a fun show.
Well, we have a lot of fun doing it. And again, it's the closest thing, you know, for me, I get to do, as our GM and our owner would say, they would say that it's studio wrestling, right? Because they grew up watching Memphis wrestling on Channel 5 and even Channel 13 before that. So they describe what I do as studio wrestling, which to them is, you know, characters and over the top and silly and zany and stories that kind of weave through days and months and years. And, you know, I think I process kind of the way we do a show a little bit different than a lot of radio people. You know, I miss being in wrestling on a daily basis. So I use radio in Arkansas State as kind of like as close to wrestling without bumps as I can do it.
Let me ask you this question about how old you are now, because this what was not surprising to me, because I knew wrestling. First of all, I knew how many people watch Power Pro in the K-Fine radio market. So I knew that you were a top guy, you were top in Jonesboro, but you completely 100% changed fields. You completely, because wrestling went away for both of us and you've mastered radio. How much of your experience in the wrestling business helped you, and you were always sharp with computers and all that stuff, but how much do you think, in other words, I'm rambling, but do you think that if you were not a wrestler, if you were not a wrestling personality, if you were not on that television show, do you think at this point you would have got to where you are in the radio broadcast?
Nowhere close. I wouldn't have even taken the chance to get out and put myself in a position to do this. Wrestling gave me, you know, the courage and the confidence that I didn't even have as a high school kid. You know, I started when I was real young on on ESPN, you know, with Global Wrestling Federation in Dallas. I was 14 years old, and I was able to go out there and be around all these guys, you know, like the Von Erichs and Skandar Akbar, all these people that I'd watched on TV forever. But in high school, I was scared to death. I was shy. I was quiet. I didn't come out of my shell until I was able to get in front of a camera or in front of a wrestling crowd. And there's no way I would have ever landed in this if it wasn't for wrestling. No way.
You know, sometimes we think things are the worst days of our life that turns out great. When Power Pro, and you remember the day I was upstairs and got the news and it went away, I didn't know what I was going to do. You didn't know what you were going to do. It was a panic situation at all, and it's worked out great for both of us. I've had several runs at different things and been successful and very happy in my life. I thought my life was over at the time.
Yeah.
Wrestling's all I ever wanted to do. At the time, in April of 1998, April the 16th was our last show. Did you think your life was over?
Oh yeah, it was terrible. I remember the emotion of knowing the show was about to be over, of then writing what we knew was going to be the final TV that we ever did, and bringing people back that hadn't been there in a while. And I remember specifically standing in the hall, and the show might have been over, and it was like we were saying goodbye to people that literally I didn't know if I'd ever see them again. And I've been lucky enough to do stuff with most everybody again, with a lot of people. As far as a lot of the people that we have coming to Jackson this weekend, I've had the chance to see them over the years. But I remember standing there with you, and it was me, you, and Jerry Lawler and Stacy. And I remember thinking, this could be the last time that I ever see Jerry Lawler and Stacy together. And literally, I don't think I've seen Stacy since that day in 2001. But I was heartbroken. It was all I ever wanted to do. This was our company, our dream, and it felt like at the time that it was kind of taken away, and in some ways probably unfairly. And it was part of a change, and part of a changing of the time. We'll be realistic and say, hey, the Monday Night Wars and Attitude Era and all the stuff did change the way people perceived wrestling, and the television business changed too. Like, there were multiple different things, and I felt though like this was our project, and all of a sudden it was just gone.
Let's see if you agree with this statement. You would not be doing what you're doing now with K-Fine Radio, and he starts off broadcasting, without the fact that Gary Harpo, the GM at the time at K-Fine, reached out to us to be because Power Pro was pretty hot, and they would bring. I was the heel, so you would be the guy that would, because you lived in Jonesboro, you would go do the morning show and all that. So certainly, I think I would want to be on the list of people that's influenced your life, and I think there's no doubt I would be. But I certainly think a big part of it is Gary Harpo, because he said one time, and we both looked at him like he was crazy. I was in the room. He said, if anything ever went wrong with wrestling, I think, do you remember this? He said, I think you could make a hell of a living in the radio broadcasting business, in radio. And we both looked at him like he had a turn. We just didn't know. We think, what do you mean Memphis wrestling's not going to go away? Are you crazy? We'll die doing this. And you, by the time Power Pro went out of business, he got another job. So you didn't get the job from Gary Harpo, but he's the guy that put it in your head that you could do this. Am I right on that?
And I just saw Gary. I was at an event for A-State football a month or so ago, and I run into Gary maybe once a year, and I always give him a big old hug, and I tell him, hey, thanks for the opportunity that he helped open the door for again, because he had told me the whole radio thing. And I remember kind of thinking, you said the turd in the mouth thing. I remember thinking, oh man, I'm a wrestler. I'm a TV guy. I don't want to do radio in Arkansas. Like that didn't appeal to me at the time until, you need a job. And I either had the opportunity to either go back home to Texas or try radio. And I didn't even know if the radio thing was going to work. Like, I knew that we had some exposure from the wrestling show, but also the radio market's different, as far as, I don't know, not everybody watches, wrestling, not everybody listens to the radio, but so I knew I had to start over in some sense. And I was the young guy coming into radio companies, and there were some
tattoos and a bald head.
Right. And there were some who valued the wrestling thing and saw, oh my gosh, people know him because of Channel 5, but there were other people who didn't get it. Like, they didn't watch wrestling. They didn't understand what that could be. And it's weird. If it wasn't for Gary Harpole, for Gary's at least bringing that up, who knows what I would have done? And I really don't know. But that's what life is. Life is all these happy accidents and these dead end roads that all of a sudden turn into something else. Because literally in April of 2001, I was much like you. I really thought that, like, hey, everything I ever wanted to do with wrestling is over. And we just walked out. And I'll never forget getting in the vehicle and driving off. We left 1960 Union Avenue, which was the Channel 5 studios. And I thought, I don't know if I'll ever do anything in wrestling again. And I've been lucky enough to be able to do that to some degree. But it was a real sad day when I reflect on
how long did it take you in radio? This is wrestling lingo, people, but I think our people will know wrestling lingo. How long did it take for you to feel and know that you were over in radio?
It took a couple of years, which I thought was interesting because I thought it would be a little more instantaneous because of TV. But again, you realize not everybody, watches wrestling. So there were a lot of people that were seeing me for the first time. I think probably the era I was doing a show it was Brandon Baxter, it was Double B and Sweet Ali, and it was probably around 2004, maybe 2003, but really 2004, where I thought, okay, this has worked to a really strong level. And we knew we had listenership and we were meeting people and people were showing up to see us at events and getting autographs. And we'd go into schools and kids would get, super excited because they were radio fans. And I was on a pop station at the time. And then, I thought, okay, that's kind of peak level. And then the weird thing about life, as I get older and the longer that I've been here, it's, I don't know, it just feels like I get the exposure and meet new people all the time, which I would have thought that, hey, I kind of hit my cap in 2004, 2005, but it's kind of neat to see what it's turned into here. It's a pretty, I will never take for granted the opportunities I've had to do this. And I think that even my friends in wrestling who obviously I'll always aspire to do something in wrestling. I love that. That's my first love, my first passion. But I think most of the people who know me and see what I've been able to create here are like, man, you would be a fool to ever leave what you have to jump back into the wrestling business. But, when it's in your heart, you always have that little what if. But I think I'm really at the point in my life now where I'm confident in who I am and what I've done. And I think, hey, I'm really satisfied with my life now. I'm not chasing that dream that I chased forever, or even up to, 5, 6, 8 years ago, I was still sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what if I get that call? And I don't worry about that anymore. I'm really happy with what I do.
Now, the wrestling business lifestyle, the drinking, the drugs, all the kind of stuff, you thank God never got caught up in that sort of stuff, never been in any trouble and that sort of thing. But I was going to ask you, and then I'll have a video that I'm going to surprise you with at all. But how much did you change after you got married and after you had a child?
Probably a lot. If you think about what my life was like before I had met Leslie, and obviously before we had Kai, there was a lot of late nights, and we were doing club remotes. And I would love to go to the clubs because as a radio personality here, people wanted us there, and people would come and talk to us and hang out with us and provide us with all the beverages we could drink and get us home safe and all that silly stuff. And it's different. Your priorities change though when you get married and you realize, hey, now I'm at the point where I don't want to be in the club. I literally want to be at home with my wife and my son. And it's funny how that changes because even going to a concert or going to different things can be stressful for me now. And I just like being with my people, like my little, my crew at home, and knowing that we're all safe and we can watch TV together and go have dinner together, go out to eat together. And, it's a pretty small circle, but I guess I grew up a little bit with the wife and kid.
You've always been a dog person. I hadn't been to your house in over 5 years that I've been back here, but what do we have in the Baxter house as far as dogs these days?
Murphy Lee, he's my dog. He is we got him and he was supposed to be a Cavapoo, I think. And then he's grown into like this giant Cavapoo. He's probably about 45 pounds now, which isn't a big dog, but like he was supposed to be like literally 10 pounds and he just kept growing. Best dog I've ever had in my life. And I've had dogs my whole life since I was a kid. We just had to, bury 2 dogs that we had. We bought 2 dogs that were Cavalier King Charles Spaniels back when Kai was little, and they both got sick and heart disease. And we just had to put them down this year. Yeah. Like in the last few months. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then we got a cat. My wife now has a cat, one of those grumpy looking cats with the real big eyes and the smush face. That's Mia, and Mia it's funny because like being a dog person, you know how dogs are, and they're so happy to see you, and they're wagging their tail, and they want to give you hugs and kisses. Mia doesn't like anybody, maybe she's just aloof and doesn't care. But it's the dichotomy of a really wild and happy hyper dog, and then a cat that doesn't care about anybody. All she wants to do is eat. So.
Brandon Baxter with us here on Talking Memphis Wrestling. I'm going to surprise you a little bit. Do you remember my motto in booking was always expect the unexpected, correct? How many times did you hear me say that?
Oh, that was a deal, especially for Power Pro.
and I think that's a great. Well, so it's not surprising to you that I'm going to throw something at you that's unexpected, right? Does
Uh,
that surprise you?
Not surprised. I don't know that I thought you would do that, but I'm not surprised that you would do that. I have no idea what it is.
Dave Brown was on the Randy Hill show last night. Got great numbers, great job, but the subject of weather came up and the subject of Brandon Baxter came up, and we're going to watch that video right now from last night. Are you ready for it?
Makes me a tad bit nervous, but I think I'm ready for it. I hope it's good.
Okay.
Okay.
This story before we went on the air, and you remember this. Brandon Baxter, who was living in Jonesboro, my right-hand man, and we would go to TV, and he was deathly afraid of tornadoes. I mean, deathly afraid. And we had a weather situation after TV went off the air, a bad one. And it froze
Brandon
up.
didn't want to leave.
Hold on, it's buffering. Gonna go back to Jonesboro, but Dave saved the day. Dave said, just come into my office and watch me cover this thing, and I'll explain stuff to you." And he sat through that as you tutored and you broadcast and you saving lives. And by the time he walked out of the building, he says, "I want to do this someday." And he's in radio, and he hops in the car and rushes out in the middle of a storm and goes broadcast live. So the influencer, you didn't think at the time, you were just trying to calm him down, right? You didn't think you were mentoring, but that's what you did.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. I never really knew that to be the case until this evening, and I'm thrilled. I mean, Brandon hit the ground running when he got in radio, and has never looked back. He's done wonderfully.
I want to do one. How much does that make you happy, Brandon Baxter?
Oh yeah, you see the smile. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you see Dave and broadcast and what he was able to accomplish with his entire career and what he meant to the market that he was in and the station that he was in and the amount of revenue that was generated because of Dave Brown. Outside of all the stuff that he did, to make Memphis wrestling great and what he did for all those Saturday mornings, an immense amount of respect. And I'll never forget the day. And I can't remember the year, but just sitting back there watching him go wall to wall with very little prep time and just how calm he was in the middle of a storm. And literally when you're in that room, and I'm sure he might've talked about this, but you don't know if that's how close that storm is coming to you. You can see it on the radar, but you're literally walled in just trying to inform everybody else. So yeah, tons of respect. And I remember walking away that day, super impressed with Dave. And my son, oddly enough, there's a weathercaster in Arkansas, a meteorologist named Ryan Vaughn, who my son thinks is the coolest guy. So maybe that kind of runs in the family too, that we see what these people can do. And it's such a unique talent that we kind of, me and Kai both have a love for that type of work.
Hey, you'll pop with this because last night we were talking. We had a guy named Frank Seaton, Jonesboro High School class of 1973. So he's about 7 years older than me, but big wrestling fan. He watches my show every week. So he commented on the deal, and Dave really reacted great on this and explained it's all different in TV now. But Jonesboro's weather guy back then was Dave Brown. Because of the wrestling show, people watch Dave Brown, and back in the day, before cable and before satellite TV and all the deal, we don't get Channel 5 anymore. But people in Jonesboro watched every day. They would watch Memphis TV, and because they knew Dave from the wrestling show. But one thing Dave said, and this is where you pop, he said back in the day, Channel 8 just didn't have great weather forecasters, or didn't have, the main thing he said, they didn't have great technology. But he said, as you know, Randy, the guy they have now, and you need to tell him, this was said on the Randy Hill show last night, Dave Brown put Ryan Vaughn over and said, you guys have a great one. And Ryan Vaughn said, Randy, he's great. And I'm telling everybody he's great. So Ryan Vaughn came out of Dave Brown's mouth last night. Does that make you happy?
That makes me happy. It'll make Ryan happy too. Obviously, we look at people, right? Because Ryan and I are basically the same age. We've almost had the same trajectory in the market as far as, starting around the same time and growing as talent people and parents and all that. He loves Dave Brown, and he knows the value that Dave Brown has not only to Memphis and to Channel 5, but literally to the Mid-South and so many different people. So he'll love to hear that. And Ryan's awesome. And Ryan's, the good thing about what I'm watching him do now is he's educating and teaching the young meteorologists who are coming out here and working at the TV station here. I watch him teach them. And I sit there and I've heard him talk about, some of the same things that we talk about, the psychology of why you say what you say when you say it. It's one thing to be able to have the information, to be really good with knowing what the information is and what it means, but to be able to convey that to an audience and know how to do that, that's a special talent. And that's what people like Dave and Ryan Vaughn are able to do.
Very good. I think right now we're going to do some real quick thoughts as we go to every one of them. Let's get, as you see the two posters behind me, it's a night to remember Jackson, Tennessee, Saturday night. You can scan that QR code on the poster you see between me and Brandon, and it'll take you right there. Or you can go to MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com, and it will take you directly to the advanced ticket website. It's very easy to do. Meet and greet at 3:30. We'll tell you who all's going to be there. The thing I'm looking forward to the most, without a doubt, Brandon, is the special ceremony, rivalry, easy for me to say, for the ages, Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. Then we will have a Power Pro KAW reunion, then the class of 2024 Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. So just talk about that a minute. The meet and greet, and everything is so to go meet and greet, the Lawler celebration, and the Power Pro KW thing, then the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Before we get into the pictures.
Yeah, I just think that this is an opportunity for all of us to come back together, and for those of you who watched either Power Pro, KW, USWA, CWA, whatever it was. This is a chance for us to be back around people that we might not see again collectively as a group. I mean, how many of these events are we going to be able to put together over the course of time, right? And the idea that we can all come back together and see people like Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and Jimmy Valiant and the Rock and Roll Express and Coco Beware all in one spot again. I don't want to miss it because you can't recapture some of these moments. We had the opportunity in 2016 to do a Legends of Memphis Wrestling event in Jonesboro. The main event was Jerry Lawler versus Jeff Jarrett. Dave Brown was here. Lance Russell was here. There were a bunch of people here, and literally we couldn't duplicate them. The idea that we all got to see each other and reconnect, and that's us knowing each other. But for people who are fans who grew up watching this, you got to jump on opportunities like this because as time goes on, you never know. I mean, who's not going to be able to make the next one because of health reasons or whatever. If you're healthy and you can get there, get to Jackson, Tennessee. This is going to be something that's special. And I can tell you too, that a lot of the guys have more time now to deal with the fans. We understand what this means to the fans. There's more hours designated to this. The whole idea of Comic Cons are such a big deal. And the idea that you can go up there and literally talk about your favorite moments and memories with these talents, these people that you watched, and they're not rushed for time or trying to get back to the dressing room or trying to get to their car or get to the next town. You really get the chance to enjoy these people. If you haven't bought tickets, if you haven't made the decision to be in Jackson on Saturday, get the tickets, take advantage of the opportunity because you're not really sure that we're ever going to have the same opportunity again.
Very good. We're going to go real quick through the 10 people that will be in the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame class 2024. We'll go through this, and I'm going to shut up because the last month, everybody knows what I think about each and every one of them. And here we go with the 2024 class of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. The headline guy, the guy that will close the show. He came rolling into Memphis TWA. Tell all the ladies and some Jimmy's on the way. I talked to him today, by the way. He's a rocker, a roller, a little funky too. He's raised by a gypsy, handsome in school. So go.
Oh, gosh. One of the most kind, thoughtful people I ever met through wrestling. And it's weird. Ooh, that's going to make me emotional. But just the idea that we get to be around Jimmy Valiant again. I remember 1995, I came through and I had the chance to do stuff with him, and I knew him because, he was a big deal in Memphis. He was a big deal for Crockett in the Carolinas. He came through Dallas and did stuff with Lawler at the Sportatorium. I was a fan walking in, and then when you meet the man and you realize what the human being is like, how caring he was, how much care he took of me as a kid when we would have matches, and I was 18 and didn't know what in the world I was doing, but he made it simple. Yeah, I mean, just salt of the earth. I'm super, super excited to be around the Boogie Woogie Man, handsome Jimmy Valley. Oh, gosh. Rock and Roll Express, Ricky and Robert, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Literally, I still watch their matches with the Midnight Express on a regular basis. To me, some of the greatest, if not the greatest tag team matches of all time. I had the chance to travel with Robert early on. There were some car trips where Robert would, because you guys would get him the big Lincoln when he'd come in from Smoky Mountain. So we would all try to pile into the nice car, right? So it was Robert's car, but most of us had to drive. So it was either me driving or Jamie Dundee or Doug Gilbert or Brian Christopher. And Robert took a lot. He took really good care of me. And those guys, when I mentioned all those names, Doug Gilbert and Brian and Jamie and Robert, they took an 18-year-old kid and let me come in here and didn't make me pay for trans, didn't make me pay for hotels, and wanted to teach me. They saw something in me, and I'll always be forever grateful for those guys. And to see Robert go in, and I just had the chance to be around Ricky not too long ago. And, Ricky, one of the greatest baby faces of all time, one of the greatest sellers of all time. It's going to be fun to see them again. I had the chance to see the Nightmare Danny Davis in Nashville at Jerry Jarrett's funeral. And Danny and I hadn't seen each other in, golly, well over 20 years. And I remember as a kid, I wanted to have the Nightmare wear because he would sell the gimmicks, the T-shirts and the half shirts and the Zubaz pants and all that stuff. And then the idea that we saw him, from what he was able to do as a talent to then go into OVW, and definitely super worthy of going into any Hall of Fame. But I'll be excited to see Danny as well. Oh gosh, Sir Mo. Another one who I met early in my run in Memphis because they came through in '95 a couple of times. And then when we did Power Pro, he was a big part of what we did with Power Pro Wrestling, and super nice. Always wanted to give back. And I think that's when I think of Mo, I think about how much he wanted to teach the next generation and to kind of get them ready for opportunities. So I have not seen Mo since, it's literally been probably 23 years. So,
Power Pro Wrestling.
yeah,
He was in as the Regulators.
yeah.
His
And, at that time he was Dion. His partner was Dion, and he was kind of getting him ready. It was a good opportunity, but he took good care of us. And, he was in the early Power Pro days too, if you remember, back in the 98 days too.
Dion Harlem will be there, and Rob will be there. And he, as you say, he mentors new wrestling students. And one of his top students that's wrestled independents and done very, very well, he will induct him into the Hall of Fame. The next person will be inducted by Dangerous Doug Gilbert. We'll go to East Tennessee, Brandon. How about this dude?
Hey, that's going to be fun too, because obviously I watched a lot of the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony with his stuff through Memphis, but also, he was one of those guys that could always, I don't know how you would even describe it, but like so realistic with his promos. And I saw him when he was a Dirty White Boy. They came through Dallas. I think it was him and golly, was it Lyndon at one point, or was it Al? And I know Alex Porto at another point, maybe even somebody else. But so I saw him through Dallas, through Memphis, and then all the stuff that we saw with the Dirty White Girl and the stuff that he did in Smoky Mountain. So I don't know Tony Anthony that well. He did come through Power Pro toward the end, and I think they did a stuff with the BSK group at one point against with Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert. But
Rikishi.
Because that was Rikishi, and at that point, a couple of the other guys that he had brought in. It'll be cool. I don't really know Tony Anthony that well, but obviously respect all the stuff that he was able to contribute for a long time.
This will be airing. We started this taping probably about 10:45, maybe closer to 11. It will air tonight, Talking Memphis Wrestling, and the co-host, one of the co-hosts, along with Pat Trammell of the program you're watching right now, Talking Memphis Wrestling, he is the voice of the very first debut video of Hulk Hogan. He is the voice of the Kamala debut video. At times when Lance Russell and Dave Brown were gone, the golden voice, and he spent time in Texas as well. Brandon, do you know this guy? Michael St. John.
Yeah, I do know Michael, and the idea that we kind of it's weird, like the footsteps of the wrestling business to the radio deal, how it kind of played out for both of us. But I remember Michael, like, of course, obviously from the early videos, but as far as being the solo host, there was a time period where the USWA was doing, obviously stuff in Memphis and this area, but also, they had taken over the Dallas territory as well. And there was a long period there where Michael St. John was the lead television guy. And I told Michael I had the chance again to see him at Jerry Jarrett's funeral as well. And it was the first time that I had talked to Michael as an adult. Like, I talked to him when I was a little kid. I'd get his autograph and all that stuff and watch them get on that giant bus to be bussed all the way back to, I guess, to Memphis. But it was really neat to have the opportunity to kind of catch up with him and introduce myself as an adult and a contemporary. So I'll be excited to see Michael.
Very good. And you mentioned one of these two guys earlier, and this is a team along, and I always say in 94, the people that put me on the map booking wise was PG-13, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich, and Brian Christopher. The following year, then Brandon Baxter came into the fold. But I'm tickled to death, and I think it's absolutely, because in the 70s, the tag team in Memphis, the babyface tag team in Memphis, without a doubt, was Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. In the 80s, it was the Fabulous Ones, the lead dog, but right there was the Rock and Roll Express. Can you tell me a more over babyface team in the 90s than PG-13?
No, and I can still picture it. That they were something special when you can picture moments or entrances. And I'll never forget watching them come out. It was a night to remember in Louisville at the Louisville Gardens. This is 1995. And big crowd. Their match was going to be against the Rock and Roll Express. And I remember watching, the song was Here Comes the Hot Stepper. And that song hit, the entire place lit up like territory wrestling it could do for the baby faces. But this was a different level of reaction. And they got up there on the little stage area as they were walking through the crowd. The engagement that they had, the people loved those guys, the reactions they could get. And their contribution is huge. I mean, when you think about that era and like the next era, the next generation of Memphis wrestling, Jamie, JC Ice was the first one who gave me a ride when I got to Memphis. I was here as a kid, 18 years old, and didn't really know anybody. I'd met Doug and Eddie Gilbert in Dallas, but I was about to make a trip by myself to Louisville for a night to remember. And Jamie Dundee says, "Hey kid, you got anybody to ride with?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And he said, "Meet me at what was it? Exit 12, Sycamore View, the Memphis Inn, I think." And he basically took care of me from that point forward. I got in the car with Jamie. He got me to the town, got me to the venue. He knew where all the towns, all the schools were. And he was just a lot of fun. And and basically while I was traveling with Jamie and Brian and Robert Gibson and Doug Gilbert, you were in a different car with Frank Morrell and Wolfie D.
Yeah. It was
we all made the same towns. And Wolfie, I've had the chance to work with Wolfie a number of times over the years, and he's always been, just super nice and fun and humble to be around. The idea of seeing those two together again, because I've seen both of them separately, but I literally don't know that I've seen them together since maybe 1996 or 97.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's amazing. Now, Kevin Lawler is doing behind-the-scene work and countless numbers of hours, and I just decided as we were discussing this that I needed to do this, and this is maybe 20 seconds, maybe not. I think prepare yourself on this, because I think it's one of the things, and you kind of brought it up, but this is one of the things, Brandon, that will give you chills as we watch now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
I'm JCI.
And I'm the Wood BT.
And we're coming on strong.
To the D.O. Lean, mean fighter.
Now storybook writer. Step on, punk.
Because we're bringing life by the name PG-13.
There's no two greater. All the ladies want to know.
Hey, what you doing, lady?
Everybody step aside, cause we can't be a cop.
You out of shape.
And out of date.
And you might get dropped.
This is a challenge.
So accept it if your brain's that crazy.
One wrong move.
I love that. It was just so, and at the time it was cutting edge. It was different from Memphis to be able to have that type of content as well. And the whole hubcap and the dance, and I don't know, man, it brings back, and this is where I say again, it brings back so many memories to me. And I was in the dressing room with a lot of them at different times. For people who just had the opportunity to watch, who didn't get to know these people, this opportunity in Jackson on Saturday night is something so special. And again, if I say I haven't seen Jamie and Wolfie together since maybe 96 or 97, there's a lot of people who are in the same boat who maybe never had the chance to have that stuff signed by these guys, or maybe you never really got to get up close to Bill Dundee or Jerry Lawler or Jimmy Valiant or Dr. Tom Pritchard or Michael St. John or any of the other people that you're impressed to go see. The more we talk about it, the more I see it, the more excited I get. You right there, Tom Pritchard. I had the chance to be around Tom and manage the Heavenly Bodies when they would come in during that USWA Smoky Mountain deal. Jim Cornette wasn't available all the time. So just the idea that I could be, standing there and walking out with Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard, that was cool. That was special. And again, the matches they were having that I was managing the Heavenly Bodies in were against PG-13.
I want to make clear, Brandon Baxter will be at the Power Pro table. I'll be at the Talking Memphis Wrestling table going back and forth. So excited. Some of the Power Pro originals. Got a phone call last night from Mexico. Kid Wicked will be in the house.
I didn't realize that. Can you, and I know this is going to sound silly, but I mean, you have all the content. Can you remind me, just to keep firing me up, who all's going to be there on Saturday?
Absolutely. Of course, you got the Hall of Fame people in your head. We just did it, right? You're comfortable with knowing who that will be. And I think at this point, I want everybody clear this. In the meet and greet at 3:30, all the people going into the Hall of Fame and the people inducting them will be at the meet and greet as well. So everybody we talked about so far, and this next person is the nephew of Nightmare Danny Davis. He's a WWE superstar. He will induct his uncle Danny Davis into the Hall of Fame. Do you remember Doug Basham? And I don't think he do any Power Pro stuff?
He had a really good job, I think, by the Power Pro time, and I don't know that he did a whole lot. I do remember him as a young Doug Basham from USWA stuff, especially when we were up in the Kentucky area. He would do more stuff, but I had the chance to be around him. And then obviously, as we can see there, and we saw what later happened, is he did the stuff with the OVW and then later WWE. I mean, transformed his entire look and his physique, and was one of the greatest guys ever trained by Danny Davis at OVW. Like Doug Basham he was a stud.
I forgot this one, and I won't. And we've talked before, and you knew what I was doing. You know the history. You know KEW Wrestling. You know Power Pro Wrestling. You know Memphis Championship Wrestling. When I first called you and told you about this event, September the 21st, and told you that I was going to be partners with Terry Golden, what were your initial thought then? And then I want you to tell me your initial thought when I want to put him into the Hall of Fame. And I want you to know right now that the first time he heard the fact that of the invitation to be in the Hall of Fame, Brandon, was on my show, on my Monday show. And I told him, and he got choked up, because working with him for months, we didn't give each other a chance back in the Power Pro, KEW, MCW days. He has as much of a passion about KEW and Memphis wrestling, certainly does great for Bill. This guy cried when I asked him to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's the type of people I want in the Hall of Fame. What were your thoughts evolving with Terry Golden going into the Hall of Fame?
There's multiple different things I can think of. And it's interesting because that you're asking me that, because number one, he was always super nice to me. And that's how I try to judge people. I think back in the time where it was Power Pro and MCW and KEW, of course he was going to come in as the underdog brand. That was kind of the stance he was going to take to build his business with KEW. And that worked. That worked to a great level, to a great extent for them and the talent to work for KEW. Then the MCW thing came, and we know where developmental went and how different things changed and all that. But as far as an individual, Terry Golden was always super nice to me. As far as how that relates to Randy Hales, I was very surprised, number one, that you guys were coming together, because sometimes you're, and I'll say this very respectfully, but a little more hard-headed, a little more picky, a little bit more maybe defensive sometimes. And I didn't know how you two would work together. So I thought that was going to be a really interesting dynamic to see how that worked. And then the more I talked to you about your experience dealing with Terry, the more I was like, man, You guys are clicking. It hit. It was the right thing. It was the two right guys at the right time coming together. So I remember when Power Pro ended, that TV show in 2001, I think MCW lasted a little bit longer, and I can't remember how much longer.
Not much.
Yeah, but Terry, he reached out and said, hey, if you want to still do something, you're welcome to come and do something with us. And I loved going to his MCW events because they were so different. Less pressure, obviously, on me to go to somebody else's show. But I haven't seen Terry. He's another one that I haven't seen since the end of Power Pro. So to see how successful he's been, obviously he has a great business mind for the market that he's in. But he did great with what he built. He built KAW. He built MCW as a rival to Power Pro. And now to think that, these rival promotions all come back together, and it'll be, for a lot of us, maybe the first time that we've all seen each other since 2001.
I'm going to ask you if I can show or not show this next picture. One of the Power Pro originals, he will be there, and he has always been, I'll smarten people up about you. You're the most pickiest person I've ever seen in my life about your own picture. I mean, really, we've seen, you're saying not to show it, right?
Is this that picture I told you that I had sent Kevin Lawler dozens of pictures he could use, and he used a picture I'd never seen before?
So you're telling me not to show it, right?
No, you can show it, but I hated the picture, and Kevin had better pictures. Sometimes I think Kevin Lawler just likes messing with me. I think he likes to rib me. I think he's always been like that, and I think this is a rib. I mean, I'll be there. That is one of the worst pictures I've ever taken. And I don't know where he found it. That has heat with Kevin. That has heat with me. I would have rather you use the 95 pictures or the 98 pictures, because trust me, I'll get those pictures and be like, what were you wearing? Why did you wear this? What did you look like this for? And, I've always got along with Kevin. We had a really great conversation at an event a couple of months ago that was over here in Northeast Arkansas. And, I think when we talk about Kevin, because I don't know if you have a graphic for Kevin that's about to pop up or not.
No.
But his love and passion for wrestling, and what sometimes where people might think Kevin can be difficult, is the fact that he loves it so much. It is in his heart. It's his passion. And he's
drive you crazy.
No, but I say that in a good way, though, because it's kind of like the same way that we are. He loves it that much, and maybe to an even different level because of his dad's involvement, his brother's involvement, and all the different stuff. And he cares so much about the visual. Like, he wants to put on a show. He wants graphics to be perfect and lights to be perfect and costuming to be perfect. And in some ways, Memphis was not known for that. No. But Kevin loves it. That's his favorite part. He's an artist. So I'm excited to have the chance to be around Kevin again, too.
How about this next guy? Mama says it bees that way someday, sometime. I'll get it right. Downtown Bruno will be a part of the night to remember.
I had the chance to see Bruno not too long ago. The idea that we can all come back together and tell those stories of when we all were, like, I wrestled Bruno multiple different times in the USWA. I wrestled him at different points. And I tagged with Bruno as well in the USWA. But then in Power Pro, obviously, we did a bunch of stuff together. And then when you see his impact on Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and those stories. And I mean, Bruno was so well loved by The Rock. The Rock gave him a truck, right? Like, literally surprised him with the truck. The idea that Bruno and his heart took in Dwayne Johnson when he probably never thought Dwayne Johnson was going to become The Rock. Nobody does. He was just banking on helping a friend's kid. And it just so happens that Rocky Johnson's kid became the biggest star in the world. But that tells you who Bruno is. He literally was just trying to help people. And I remember that about him. I always was afraid when I got to Memphis that he was going to think I was competition because, he had the WWF job at the time, and I was coming in to be the top heel manager. And because he wasn't here, he couldn't make all the towns. And I always worried that I would have heat because of that. And I never did. He always took care of me. And that's something to respect.
I want to ask you a country music question, and you'll see where I'm going with it in just a second. Do you know who Roy Acuff is? This is going way back in the day.
I know the name. We play him on The Wolf. I don't know that I would know the songs.
Do you know Minnie Pearl?
Oh, yeah.
So Roy Acuff at the Grand Ole Opry would introduce Minnie Pearl. He'd come out and he'd host a segment, and he always said, "Cousin Minnie Pearl." And the reason I say that is I'm setting up. The next guy will be at the meet and greet. He was my guest last week on the Tuesday show and was fantastic. Even wore the whole dang crown. Cousin Carl Fergie. How about Carl Fergie?
He was awesome. I had the chance to be around Carl, and it was early Power Pro. If you remember, Jerry Lawler was running a casino. I think it was the Lady Luck Casino in West Helena, I think, and Fergie would bring the ring, and he would be the referee, and he was always fun to be around and silly and goofy. And it was weird because that was really my main spot to deal with him, with Carl Fergie. By the time I got to this area, was mainly at those shows at the Lady Luck Casino, but super, super nice. And I'll be excited to see him too. I feel like I'm saying I'm going to be excited to see people, but literally when I see these people I haven't seen in forever, you should have made me buy a ticket, because that's how excited I'm going to be to see these people again. Legit. I'm fired up.
We talked about him earlier, and I will ask you that question because wrestling and radio, two different things. But Dave Brown, we talked about last night on the show. It's available at youtube.com, the Randy Hills channel. You can watch that entire thing. How different is radio and television? And can you imagine, because when he got started, he told the story yesterday, he started as a rock and roll disc jockey at WHBQ Radio in Memphis, Tennessee, that Lance Russell was the program director, and Lance in 67 came and said, hey, I need somebody to be my sidekick, my co-host, and this will give you a great opportunity. And listen to this, Brandon, and he's told this story many times. This is what Lance Russell said to Dave Brown. Said this will be a great opportunity to discover two things. It will discover if you like television, and more important than that, it will determine if television likes you. Dave Brown.
Yeah. Not everybody can make it on TV. And the idea, I mean, especially back when he started in radio to make that transition to TV, there weren't cameras in studios and your picture wasn't everywhere like it is today with radio. So very different when people can see you and they can, you have to tell a different story. Like on radio, you're telling the story with your voice, and now maybe through webcams and social media and stuff like that. But on television, you have to be able to communicate in a different way. You're telling it with not only your voice, but with your face and your hands and your body language. For him to make that transition to be a television guy is awesome. True legend. I think you could say, hey, we want to do Television Hall of Fame, and all the television stars of Memphis are coming together. Dave would be the headliner. Yes. The idea that we can do this event as a wrestling event, Dave's going to be the headliner because he was so important to Power Pro, the USWA, the partnership that he had with Lance Russell, the real life friendship that continued until the very end, the magic that they had, even as we saw, like that event that I had in 2016. And then I think we inducted them and we did stuff with Lance and Dave in Memphis. I can't remember if it was 2016 or 2017.
17.
So, but to see them come back together and to still have that love for each other, that camaraderie was so special. Dave is a true legend. And the idea that he has committed to be there. And I think if we're going to be real honest, the invitation was put out there to Dave early on, and we weren't sure because Dave was going to be able to take it or that he was going to take it. So the idea that came together, the way that it came together, and Dave Brown, literal royalty in wrestling and television, is going to host that Hall of Fame. That's pretty special.
I think there's just no doubt. It's just the great Dave Brown coming in and being a part of that, and it's unbelievable. I wanted to tell you, I introduced Dave to bring him on the show last night. I said, and I want you to say, and I bet my life almost that you will agree. I introduced him by saying, this man is, without a doubt in the world, the most recognizable voice, the most recognizable face in the history of Memphis media. Do you agree with that?
Nobody's close, I don't think. I mean, there's people who might be, multiple rungs below, but Dave's a legend. And he was able to, again, I mean, through radio, through television, through the weather, and through wrestling, he was able to transcend all the different audiences. There might be people who knew him from one thing and not the other, but the idea when you put all those together, the cumulative effect of it all, he reached more people in that market than anybody.
We'll go through these quickly. And this next one, you mentioned his name. Dangerous Doug.
Yeah. Super guy to me. Again, one of the guys who took me under his wing and made my life easy in 95 when he didn't have to. I had the chance to manage Doug. We've remained friends for all these years, and it's a big old hug every time I see him. Sweetheart of a guy. His brother. I wasn't around Eddie a whole lot, but I was around him a little bit in Dallas, and Doug too when we did the Global Wrestling Federation. And the respect I have for the Gilbert family and their legacy for Memphis wrestling. I mean, it's as important as other families that are involved. So Doug being there's cool. Oh, geez. No, I mean, you're not going to give yourself the credit for the impact that you had, but if you look back at, when you started and you watch some of the most legendary things that happened at the Mid-South Coliseum, your commentary is right there alongside Lance Russell. The idea that you grew up and learned under the learning tree of Jerry Jarrett and Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. There's very few people who can say that they were able to do that. And I think the fact that you keep the lineage, the legacy of Memphis wrestling alive with what you do on a weekly basis here with this, Power Pro, USWA, popping the territory in 94 with Memphis Memories, the USWA Smoky Mountain thing, the talent that you built from PG-13 to Brian Christopher, to Doug and Tommy and all the different things that you were able to accomplish. You will be one of the last people to see the legacy, but I think we all see it and we know your importance. So, of course, if we're doing a Memphis thing, you got to be.
Thank you very much. The guy that was my gorilla position guy, if people know what that is, we both love this guy.
The best headset guy in the business is what he would say, Tony Falk. And Tony was so many different things. He was Driver Tony for Jeff Jarrett. He was Cowboy Tony. He was all the different Tonys. Two Falk for sure was another one that we had. We had Boy Tony. My first exposure to Tony Falk was Boy Tony in Dallas. I think Eric Embry brought him in. And Tony Falk was a good friend of my friend Percy Pringle. I know he helped him out a lot when they were all in the Dallas office. So Tony, I haven't seen Tony in over 10 years. Always funny. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. And his contributions, you look at all the different people that he was able to get along with and work with. I never hear anybody talk bad about Tony Falk. And the best headset guy in the business is what he would say. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
RH says, I'm the best headset guy in the business.
This guy.
Oh, gosh, Jerry Calhoun, legendary referee. He was a part of all the most important moments in Memphis wrestling. When you go back and you look at that early run and you think about the most iconic stuff, Calhoun was there. Best friend of Jerry Lawler, family, all the different stuff that you can say about Jerry Calhoun. And the idea that, for a lot of us, I didn't really get to know Jerry until after my Memphis run was over, really in the last, 10 or 15 years. I'd love to sit down and just learn more about his thoughts of being there for moments like, the Andy Kaufman stuff or Lawler and Dundee and Loser Leave and Shaving Heads and the big cage match with Austin Idol and Tommy Rich under the ring and all those special things that happened that, he was able to be there and be a part of it. Again, this is what we get to do on Saturday in Jackson. We get to reminisce and we get to talk. And I promise you, I'm going to bend people's ears and talk about all that stuff.
Talk them into the building, man. Inducting, I think this is cool, Brandon. I don't know if you even know this. Inducting the Rock and Roll Express Saturday night at the Picture Perfect, easy for me to say, the Picture Perfect Event Center on Highland Drive in Jackson will be Rick Morton's son, Kerry Morton, former NWA World Tag Team Champion, former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. I've seen him work, and it's very good, Kerry Morton.
I had the chance to meet him at an event that happened here. It was him and his dad. And obviously, I'm a fan of his dad. I'm a fan of his mother, too. Shout out to Andrea. But the idea, Kerry he's got a big deal to live up to be Ricky Morton's kid. Obviously, if you're a babyface and your dad's Ricky Morton, you got to be a really good babyface. Super nice guy, super respectful. He didn't know me from Adam, even though I knew his parents before he was even thought of. But I'll be excited to see what his career turns into because he was a champion, I believe, an NCAA champion cheerleader, and then he's gone into the business to follow after his dad. So that's going to be fun to watch his career grow.
Hey, this one will be full. There'll be some dancing going on at this point in the program, and that's not who I meant to click on, but he's a good guy.
You're going to make Pat Rose dance?
No, but Pat Rose's son is a country music recording artist, Camden Smith, that's has music that I bought. I have on my phone that I should get you to play him on K-Fine anyway. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the person that's going to dance is this guy right here.
Coco Beware. I mean, obviously, if you're a fan of the WWF in the mid to late '80s, he was a huge part of that with Frankie the Bird. But I remember him as the PYTs. I remember him coming into Dallas and wrestling the Fantastics. Of course, I've seen all the stuff that he was able to do here in this area, part of the Hart family. And, you know, Coco literally is just one of those guys who was able to do so many different things, especially at his size for the time. Like you see Coco now and you're like, man, he's a big dude. But, you know, he wasn't super tall, but he was super athletic. He was super gritty. He would get out there and even as a smaller guy, the underdog baby face, he'd fight from beneath and just had so much fire. And Coco was a guy that even though he wasn't the biggest guy in the room, like Coco Beware could scare you. Like when he was a heel for us in Power Pro, like he was so good at being a heel that you weren't really sure if he understood what he was doing, because you're like, is he still fired up? Is he fired up as he comes back through the dressing room? But his career and the lineage there in the WWE Hall of Famers, that's going to be cool to see Coco.
Last one. Remember the Hall of Fame guys, and also the pictures we've just been seeing, everybody together for the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. How about this guy, Brandon?
Man, NWA heavyweight champion, one of the top baby faces of either 82 or 83, Wildfire Tommy Rich. And then you think about the impact that he had in Memphis, of course, with multiple different runs, multiple different times. I mean, you think back to when he was a tag team partner in the New Fabs with Eddie Gilbert, the idea that he was a Hendersonville, Tennessee guy who was basically trained there under the Jerry Jarrett learning tree and was able to make a great career. And then again, that he was huge in Atlanta. The idea that when he would come back and he was there with Paul Heyman and with Austin Idol, and you know, a great heel, a great baby face, and just a real life character. And then like to see the career resurgence in '94 and '95 when you had the Tommy Rich and the Doug Gilbert stuff going on. I mean, again, you have all these different people, and I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over, but legends, legit legends, people who meant so much and impacted this area, all coming together one more time, which is this coming Saturday at the Picture Perfect Event Center, Jackson, Tennessee. There's still going to be tickets. If you want to come by and get stuff signed and autographed and you want to talk to the talent and get photos with the talent, I promise you I'm going to be there. And if you've seen my photos of any of the events I go to, I turn into a fan and I take the pictures, because back in the day, and I talked to people about this, I talked to Coco about this actually. You know, we were kind of taught when I broke into the business, you never really go and ask for photos of the boys, right? Because if you're one of the boys, that's not what you do. You know, that's what the wrestling fans do, or as it would have been called back then, the marks would do that. But now we're all marks. We're all marks for each other in the business, and we love what we do. Take the pictures, because I wish I would have taken many more pictures over the years. I'll be there to take the pictures in Jackson coming up on Saturday.
Hey, do you have one picture of me? I know I have a bunch of pictures of you. You're even on the wall somewhere around here. Do you have any pictures of me?
I'm sorry, I'm starting this. I'm having communication issues. All my pictures are stored in phones and on laptops. But of course, we've taken all kinds of pictures over the years.
That's funny. Hey, I want to, of course, the one last hard sell plug, but the first thing I want to do, we got close in '95, the Power Pro days. Of course, we fought sometimes. We literally with our program, but had a lot of times. And just a couple of things. This is a 30-minute video, and we're just going to show a few. We're going to show a few minutes of it, and just want your comments. And as I show the video, your audio will be open, so you can talk over this. To me, this, because of the hugeness of it, a show that I was extremely proud of. Again, your mic will be open.
Okay.
If it plays, by God. And I don't, here we go. Adam put this together when I was trying to shop the show, and so we will just watch through this. And Adam does a great job setting up all my video. He's on a work conference call, so he didn't do this. And now here's the call.
Yep. fan.
You are looking live at Tom Lee Park on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River as a part of the Stars.
This look will open the Memphis Wrestling Show ever in the history of the world.
Yeah, that's incredible. I remember how excited we were to be able to do this, to have the opportunity, the buy-in from WMC, the fact that they trusted us. What a shot.
Do you remember how we went with the first match of Rumble on the River?
I'm thinking it was that Battle Royal where we brought tons of guys.
No, the opening match was this one right here. Dr. Tom, Brian Christie.
Okay, that wasn't. Okay, I remember that a little different. That's one. What was the Battle Royal? Second?
Yeah, the closing segment was me, Lawler, Stacy, and the Giant King.
Yeah.
The match before that was the big Battle Royal. How over was he? We haven't talked about Brian.
That was going to get me super over. I wanted to be Brian. You saw what he looked like when I first saw him in '95 and I saw the rematch. I just had this talk with Kevin too. That's one that's I'm almost going to look away. And we didn't always get along, and I think that's what's funny about me and Brian, because Brian and I, we could go around and around at different times. Kind of like you and I could too, Randy. But especially those last 15 years, we just had a special friendship, and the respect and the talent and the person, the human being that people probably didn't even get to know. That was Brian. Had the chance to be around that Brian. A lot of people didn't get to see that side of him.
You said the word about me earlier, demanding. I expected out of you
he thinks he's
unbeatable
in Memphis, Tennessee.
I gave myself. That was wrestling 24/7, and you wanted your time. And I look back at it now, I get. I absolutely get. You want to play video games, you want to drink beer, you want to hang out with the team. I wanted you to work 24/7. That was honestly the only conflict that I remember.
Oh yeah, that's I think balance is important in life, and I think we figure that out. And we were at different points, like in our lives. You were at a different stage as far as age, and I was still. When we started Power Pro, I was 21 years old. So still silly, goofy. Still wanted to be able to do both. I thought we should be able to do both. We had a big job.
We'll get out of this. Just wanted to show a little bit from. Oh, I like this too, Brandon. Remember the helicopter?
Oh yeah, the iconic shot of catching Lawler in the convertible. He and Stacy on their way to confront him.
Did you know in the bumpers they would go to Chopper 5 and that news anchor would plug our show? Did you realize this even happened?
I didn't at the time. We couldn't see that shot. I don't even know if we had a monitor. And maybe we did, but I don't remember having a monitor inside that big tent. I just remember it was July the 4th in Memphis next to the river, and it was humid and it was hot, and we were in a giant tent. And it was, Tom Lee Park, so there's mud.
Hey, what's happening here?
This is me trying to leave. This is the red, white, and blue show, where Spellbinder comes out. I think we called him Streak at the time, and he painted my head red, white, and blue because I was disrespecting America. I remember being so nervous, Randy, at this event.
Were you?
Yeah. And I remember I thought I did everything too fast. That's how I remember the whole deal. That July 4th show. I just went too fast because I was nervous.
This was a fun thing too, as we did this on Rumble on the River, and we will get to that real quick. And I don't think, as Adam was not was able to do this show, I don't think have I made any production miscues? I don't remember any, and I'm kind of surprised. But
No,
this is this is going great. Now I want to ask you this: as somebody that does media every day, and you did TV at TV5, what do you think about the technology we can do? What do you think the setup the show? How I can do video? How I can do graphics? How easy it is? The video quality, the camera quality. It's amazing what a normal human being can do because back in the day, I mean, some of the stuff we're doing looks better than what looked on Channel 5 back in the glory days. It's amazing what you can do with video these days.
no, yeah. The idea that you could do all that and switch it all yourself when back when we would have done that would have taken a whole team of people and, full-time employees and all the money and the technology and all the stuff that goes into it. Yeah, what we can do now is incredible. I think we need to enjoy that. That's how you see young kids who become famous on TikTok or, there was like kids who open presents on YouTube who become millionaires doing that. It's just a completely different world. And it doesn't feel like, 25 years ago was that long ago to me. But the advance in technology is crazy. Who would have thought, most of us would be probably, subscribing to high speed internet and then just streaming stuff to watch. That's how we get most of our content. I'm one of those guys who went that direction, cut the cord, and it's a Hulu Live thing for me. And my son spends tons of time on YouTube and I spend tons of time on YouTube. It's just weird. And, but technology is pretty crazy. And the idea that, and I'm not even trying to be funny, but you were not super technologically advanced in 98, 99, 2000. That was kind of part of what I would do.
Right.
The idea that here you are producing a show that I couldn't produce. I don't know how to produce it now. I think that's really neat.
I think it's pretty cool. And I have one duty because I'm your old boss, and this is what we're going to do. One quick thing. I'm going to put the poster up there, and I'm going to have you go back to 95, go back to 1998. Closing promo, and we'll have closing words, but I want you to do a promo summing up the event, Night to Remember in Jackson. Here's Brandon Baxter.
Give me the angle you want me to come from. As far as just from, I'm the pitch guy. I'm just making the pitch.
As a lifetime wrestling fan, from the time you were a toddler to now, what this show means to Brandon Baxter, what this show means to you as a grown man, and what you're looking forward to see on September the 21st in Jackson, Tennessee.
Saturday night, Jackson, Tennessee, the Picture Perfect Event Center. We have the chance to go back in time. We have the chance to collectively come together and show respect to the legends who paved the way, to the people who impacted our lives and our careers. For me, I had the chance to work with all of these people and had the chance to be around them and learn from them. And to me, I want to be able to be there to pay my respects and tell them all thank you. I'd like to be able to be there to take the pictures. I said take the pictures because these guys are people that you don't see every single day. And who knows the next time you're going to have an opportunity like this, again, to have everybody come together in one spot, one location. So if you are within the sound of our voices and you have the ability to be in Jackson, Tennessee on Saturday night, this is going to be an event that you don't want to miss. This is going to be an event where we all get to come back together and reminisce and talk and laugh and joke and get autographs and take pictures. And we get to relive the glory days, the old days. We all get to be fans again. And I promise you, from those of us who are behind the scenes to everybody who's going to be there that are wrestling fans from a long time, we are all going to enjoy this event. If you haven't bought tickets, if you haven't been there to honor people like Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and Jimmy Valiant and all the new legends going into the Hall of Fame, this is the one you can't miss. Because we don't know that we will ever have the opportunity to do it just like this again. And I'll be honest, as we look at different events like this as time goes on, who are going to be the people doing these events, who can pull this type of stuff off? I can tell you with the amount of work that Randy Hales and Terry Golden have done on this one, they're more than likely not going to be doing this one again. On the wrestling side of things in Arkansas, we're more than likely never going to be able to put together an event like this again. It's literally one time, one afternoon, one evening. We all come back together for the love of Memphis wrestling, and it's happening this Saturday night in Jackson, Tennessee.
That almost made me cry.
But we really don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
We're all going through the day hoping that we have tomorrow. And that's what everybody on this roster is going to do. And there are going to be people that we wish we could have connected with or stayed in touch with that we have the chance to reconnect with. When I look through a Wikipedia page of the Power Pro guys, and it's really heartbreaking, Randy, to see this because I don't feel like it was that long ago. But there are almost, and I can't remember what the number was, I counted it up in my head. There were almost 20 people who worked Power Pro with us who are no longer with us. People that are just gone.
Right.
And that's hard to understand, hard to fathom because it doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but it's the reality of life. And the idea that we can all come back together and do this again. I'm fortunate to be there. Like I said, the idea that I can be there and not have to buy a ticket, I think that's really awesome because I should have to buy a ticket because I'm a fan of what you guys are doing. And just to have the opportunity for all of us and what you're doing for wrestling fans, it's going to be special.
You know, I don't know if because you can get emotional. My family, and obviously I'm as healthy as a horse now, but I'm 62 years old, and certainly my family, my nieces, said, who do you want to do the funeral, that sort of thing. And of course my preacher would do that, and they said, who else would you like to speak? And I said, if he can do it. I would certainly want it to be Brandon Baxter, but that's one of the things, thinking back, honestly, I couldn't do yours. I just couldn't. I as a matter of fact, declined speaking at Eddie Marlin's. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I think there's people that mean too much to where you can't do that. And
I
again,
hope I'm one of those people for you.
no, yeah, I don't think I could do that. And it sounds, you don't want to be morbid and stuff like that, but there's a lot of people on this field that mean a lot to a lot of us. And we all got to come back together. Shoot. And you took the tight shot. But it's real. It is real.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. Hey.
And you hate to see the people that you look up to that you always thought were invincible not be invincible anymore. You know, and that happens with age. It's we're all going to go through that. But there's going to be people that we need to go see, and we should be there on Saturday night.
One last thing, because when you met your lovely wife, Leslie, by the way, I'm gonna go get something while you talk. I'm gonna put you full screen in a minute. I'm gonna go get a picture. But when you met Leslie, you were already out of the wrestling business. When you had your son Kai, obviously you were several years out of the wrestling business, but they know it's your passion. How do they react? How do they react to you coming to Jackson, Tennessee, and are they coming with you? And I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, I mean, no, they're great about it because they know it's something I love my whole life since I was a little kid. I wish I wasn't emotional. But they've been awesome, and my poor wife watches more wrestling with me, and she says now that she gets to relax and watch old wrestling on YouTube or on Peacock and just go back and relive the glory days of the business that I love and the reason that I fell in love with it. Yeah. So, and the cool thing about what my wife's had the chance to do is she's had the chance to meet a lot of people. She wasn't a wrestling fan growing up. So, you know, when she would meet somebody, yeah, maybe she had seen them on TV or maybe she hadn't. Maybe it's some of my legend friends that, you know, she hadn't seen on TV, but the idea that she has, it's a different relationship. It's you know, her love for Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee is real, and it's different than mine as a contemporary and as a wrestling fan, because she loves them for the people that they are. She loved Brian like that too. So.
I hadn't asked you this. We're conducting business right here. We won't talk money, but we are, because you already know that. We're going to talk business here. When are you coming? Who's coming with you? And either night, do you, because Pat Trammell's helping us out on this, is sponsor for my show. Do you need a motel room either day? Because we can get you.
No, I think, more than likely, and I'm not sure because we've had COVID at my house, and literally my wife and son still tested positive last night for COVID. They weren't real happy about that. So I'm not sure how they're going to feel by the time we get to the weekend. The initial plan was for me and Leslie to make it, and possibly Kai, because Kai does like being around wrestling a little bit, even though he probably doesn't think it's cool to tell dad. He kind of likes being around what dad loves. But I'm not exactly sure at this point. There's always people. And here's the funny thing about anytime I'm involved, especially with this crew of people that I'm going to be with, I have people who start texting me saying, hey, if you need a ride, like I'm never going to have to drive myself. because there's always somebody who's going to want to be able to come up there and be around the guys with me. And I think that's what's so neat about this is that, I will have, I bet I end up with 5 or 6 different people willing to drive me to Jackson, Tennessee, and I have to pay no trans just to get them in there and let them get around my friends.
So Brad Bobo's probably one of them, right?
I wouldn't consider him a friend.
Okay. That is funny. I want to say one thing, and I don't know what people are thinking about the reaction between me and you. And one of the things, the one thing in your radio life, in your family life, in your friend life, what's the biggest knock on Brandon Baxter? You know where I'm going with this?
Is it what people would complain about? Is this what you're asking me to do? Or you're saying, what are my weaknesses? The worst thing about me is my inability to return a phone call or a text message.
Here's what I would say to this. We text more than we talk, but what do you think? Maybe we live in the same town, maybe 4 or 5 times a year lately because of this show, it's more, but we don't talk much. But this is what I've always said about Brandon Baxter. If something goes real bad in my life or something goes real good in my life, real fun in my life, something big involving my family, Brandon is there because he was there when my brother-in-law passed away, right there. He was there because when my sister died, he told his wife, she said, "You're not staying for the burial, are you?" He said, "I ate at their house. They were good for me. Why would I not go type of thing?" Anything personal life that he knows big for me is great. And I don't know if you certainly have seen this picture. This is on the wall in my house. And I want you to explain, if you can see it, what it is.
No, yeah, it's a picture of me and my wife with, that's Corbin and Ryan, right?
Yes.
At your nephew's wedding. Yeah. I remember Corbin as just a little kid. And I met Ryan through, she does a lot of different jobs and has her store and photography and all that. But yeah, that was a special night to be able to be back with your whole family together. Because of course, obviously I've known your family since 98, all of them, all different levels of it and branches of the family. And I feel like in many ways, they kind of think of me as like an extended part of the Hales crew. And the Wise.
You see them all out and about. You see them all out and about, right? At a radio remote or a restaurant or something.
Yeah. The kids are everywhere, and you're, it's just they've always been really good to me, and that was a special night to see Corbin. Literally, I remember us going and swimming with him in Blytheville when he was I think we babysat him. And who in the world would let Randy Hales and Brandon Baxter babysit a kid? Like there is somebody who was having a real rough time finding a babysitter to trust us to do that.
Now, let me tell you this, the only time I didn't spank him, I popped him on the behind. He was 3 years old and he was nervous because his mother wouldn't, I'd be nervous too if Brandon Baxter and Randy Hales would be my babysitter. But anyway.
That's so stupid sounding.
He was just not listening to anything. He was whining, he was crying, but he was just shook up because his mother wasn't there, his dad wasn't there because his mother was having Canaan. Remember that? Canaan was being born, so it was our job to keep. So that's how far you go back, and I'll get emotional to all the good and the bad, and there's been more than good, but that this picture here is prominent place. I have it on the TV case, so when I'm watching television, I'm looking at Ryan and Corbin and Leslie and Brandon. It's just what we go and the exciting thing is, as we finish this interview, we get to do it. I hate to say one last time because there won't be a last time with us. We live in the same town, but this is important to both of us, and thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks for inviting me. I know that this means a lot for what you're doing, for what Terry Golden's doing, for the contributions that Kevin Lawler's made, and to all of the people that we get to reconnect with again. And I hate to do the hard sell, but again, we will never have this perfect storm again. Take advantage of these moments while you can. If you grew up a Memphis wrestling fan, this is the event you don't want to miss because it's never going to be duplicated again. One day, All of us together, Jackson, Tennessee. Hope to see you guys on Saturday.
Back.
Remember, Saturday, September 21st, the Picture Perfect Event Center, Jackson, Tennessee. Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony comes to Jackson for the first time ever. The Rivalry of the Ages presentation to Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Also, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, the Rock and Roll Express, Danny Davis, and tons more. Exclusive meet and greet at 3:30. Event to follow. Go to MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com to purchase tickets. Saturday, September 21st, Picture Perfect Event Center, 2310 North Highland, Jackson. A night to remember.
Hey, Randy Hales. Now, we're looking at the time. We're normally at this point 45 minutes into the show. But tonight, we started at 6 o'clock. So we had that for the very first time ever. The first time ever in the history of this show. And I'm so thrilled, so fired up. We were able to record a long-form interview with Brandon Baxter, and I hope you guys like that in a big-time way. We talked about life. We talked about all kinds of stuff. We talked about a hard sale promo for a night to remember coming up in Jackson, Tennessee. We're going to hear, and I just had them uploaded the video, we are going to hear now from Superstar Bill Dundee, excited about the event in just a few days.
Hi folks, Bill Superstar Dundee coming at you here. We got a big show coming to Jackson, Tennessee on September the 21st. Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. See the poster behind me for more info. Going to be a big show, and that's a fact, Jack. Like I just said, it's Saturday, September the 21st in Jackson, a night to remember, brought to you by Terry Golden and Randy Hales. It's the Memphis Hall of Fame. Don't miss it. The list of all of us being inducted is unbelievable. Add to top it off, Dave Brown and Shane Russell going to be ringside calling all the action. Get tickets online at MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com or buy at the door.
The Superstar Bill Dundee. Often imitated, never duplicated. The Superstar Bill Dundee. Terry Jones, that's the first comment like this we've got. One is the event in Jackson, Tennessee. Jackson, Tennessee is a big part of the Memphis territory. Now, dollar and cents wise, in Memphis, Tennessee, do you know what a rent is in Jackson, Tennessee compared to what it is in Memphis, Tennessee? Do you know what media, what television is, and what radio is in Jackson, Tennessee compared to Memphis, Tennessee? Jackson, Tennessee, guys, this is a wrestling promotion, and the goal is for us to make money. And to do that, we are running a town, a city, where we have more of an opportunity to have sponsorships, and we have great, great sponsorships without a doubt in the world. And there's so much going on in Memphis, Tennessee, that opportunity was not there. So I have 100% agreed with, 100%. And I'll tell you another story. The first building that we were going to run in Memphis that we met with, and they were going to rent the building to us, when it came time to sign the contract, they went up by $7,000. So, Terry, does that not tell you for sure? Does that not tell you? Hey, we want to hear from more people. In a few minutes, we'll hear from Spellbinder, but right now, we're going to hear from Dave Brown.
To the 21st in Jackson. That's a Saturday night, and it's going to be out on North Highland Street at the Picture Perfect Event Center. A night to remember. It should indeed be a night to remember. For one thing, a tribute that night to the duel of all time, the King, Jerry Lawler, and the Superstar, Bill Dundee. Also, Shane Russell
Lance, my partner Lance's son, Shane Russell, is going to be joining me as we do the 2024 Hall of Fame inductions. It should be a great night. Listen to some of the people that are going to be there. The King, Jerry Lawler, of course, Superstar Bill Dundee, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, the Spellbinder, PG-13, Dr. Tom Pritchard will be there, the Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony, Rock and Roll Express, Nightmare Danny Davis, Tommy Wildfire, Rich Dangerous, Doug Gilbert, Coco Beware, referee Jerry Calhoun will be there. Downtown Bruno also there, many, many more too. It is going to be a huge night, a night to remember, Saturday, September 21st, 2024, at the Picture Perfect Event Center, 2310 North Highland in Jackson, Tennessee. You can get your tickets online at MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com. All one word, MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com. Or they will be on sale the afternoon and evening of the event. See you for a night to remember.
A great, fantastic couple of minutes plugged by the great Dave Brown. It was just absolutely fantastic. It's no doubt about it. So much talent, including, and it went away. I just posted a video and it went away, but right now, we'll take a look at this video right now.
September 21st, don't forget, a night to remember. Spellbinder, Harry Del Rio's getting inducted into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'll see you there.
And the Spellbinder will be rocking and rolling into Jackson, Tennessee. Can't wait to see that. And just posted another interview or another video. And this in Jackson, Tennessee is what you will see from the Spellbinder. We saw it earlier, and I think we'll see it again. Exciting entrance and night to remember in Louisville in '95. Got the biggest pop of the night. We look at a great entrance from PG-13.
I'm JCI.
And I'm the Wood BT.
And we're coming on strong.
Do the T.O.P. Lean meat fighters.
Now storybook writers, step on punk.
Because we'll bring you like fire. The name's PG-13.
There's no two greater. All the ladies want to know.
Hey, what you doing, lady?
Great entrance from that, and we will go ahead and watch this.
I'm JCI.
And I'm the Wood BT.
And we're coming on strong.
Do the T.O.P. Lean meat fighters.
Now storybook writers, step on punk.
Because we'll bring you like fire. The name's PG-13.
There's no two greater. All the ladies want to know.
Hey, what you doing, lady?
Everybody step aside, cause we can't be stopped.
You out of shape.
And out of date.
And you might get dropped.
This is a challenge.
So accept it if your brain's that crazy.
One wrong move.
And you'll be pushed.
Great entrance, of course, that we saw from PG-13 going into the Hall of Fame. How about one of the greatest babyface tag teams, if not the best babyface tag team of all time, the Rock and Roll Express. The Rock and Roll Express. I remember in 1984, I remember commentating the match, and it was just a fantastic match. It was Leaping Lanny Poffo, Randy Macho Man Savage against Rick Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. Here's the Rock and Roll Express again. All right, it is a great night, a night to remember. It is fantastic, thrilled to death about it without a doubt. Man, don't forget, you're going to get to see at the Picture Perfect Event Center Saturday in Jackson, Jerry Law. All right, so many people, and you will see the entrances to the Hall of Fame inductions, and excited about this one too. The Nightmare from Jackson, Tennessee. Nightmare Danny Davis will return to his hometown, and I think it's been 30 years, 30, since the Nightmare Danny Davis came rocking and rolling into Jackson, Tennessee. Can't wait for that. Absolutely can't wait for that. We did an hour and 40 minutes from Brandon Baxter, and he still wants to talk to us. Here's Brandon talking about the event in a commercial format that Adam Dunn remarkably and fantastically put together. Here's Brandon Baxter.
Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. It will be a night to remember. Be there for the FanFest meet and greet at 3:30, featuring Jerry the King Lawler, Superstar Bill Dundee, the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Jerry Calhoun, Michael St. John, and more. The legends of Memphis Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. Tickets are on sale now. Go to Eventbrite and search Official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Hey, here's a cool story, and now my picture, I've got the white balance, the camera right now, and what we are going to see next is, first of all, I'll let you know, Adam Dunn lives in Rome, Georgia. He sees a poster, he hears the radio spot, he figures out Robert Gibson this past Saturday night was just down the road from his house, and this is the thing that we got from Adam going to try to get something for this show, and this is what he got.
Hey everybody, this is Robert Gibson, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, and I'd like to invite everybody out September the 21st in Jackson, Tennessee for the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can also go to memphiswrestlinghalloffame.com and get your tickets.
And so much more, and it will be absolutely fantastic. What we'll do in about 2 minutes, we will play the open at the top of the hour. Before we do that, real quick, video, audio, whatever we can. This was out of our comfort zone. This show today, Adam, with the long form interview from Brandon Baxter. What did you learn from that long talk with Brandon Baxter and Randy Hills?
Well, Randy, really enjoyed it. I mean, it's the first time we've had like a big long form interview thing like that. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take you off the screen for a second to give you a chance to focus your camera back up. But just being able to have Brandon on and to have that in-depth interview with him to kind of share his experiences. Him growing up in Dallas down there when they had a world class to USWA coming in. He even has a different experience than you and I do with Michael, because Michael was the lead announcer down there during that time. So it's really cool to have that. It was a really good personal interview, told a lot of stories about you and him and just, his life and coming into wrestling and how that went into him, of all things, being a radio personality in your hometown of Jonesboro, Arkansas. So just really cool to see that. And I'm glad that you guys were able to have that interview. And I think it's just nice when we can have those up close and personal kind of introspective type interviews that I think the people watching at home probably really enjoyed it.
In 20, 30 seconds, what did you learn new about that interview? I know I see the chemistry between me and Brandon. No wonder we drew money.
Yeah, I just think that, and it's just funny to kind of think that, you know, Brandon wasn't that personable and that outspoken as a young child, especially considering he did the Teen Beat stuff at the age of 14, and he was on, you know, ESPN because that was the 4 o'clock show. So that was really cool to know that someone like that was really not out of their shell, even just a couple of years prior, and then for him to be, you know, the talking head that he was on the TV shows, and now, you know, doing radio and podcasts and everything else, you know, and he's on over half the state of Arkansas, you know, Monday through Friday every day, and then podcasts and stuff like that too. It's truly awesome to see his transformation.
We're going to reset the show, and we'll be back with Pat Trammell to start the next part of Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
Two hours down, 1 hour to go, coming in with his first take, just days away from Night to Remember at the Picture Perfect Event Center in Jackson on North Highland. That'll be Saturday night, first take. And hello, friend, how you doing?
Well, hello. Been a lot of traveling this week, and first take is we're within a week. We're days away. And really excited about it. It's caught part of Brandon's interview. That was really good stuff, and glad to be here and getting more excited by the hour.
Absolutely. It'd be a memorable gathering. As Frank Seaton says hello to me, says hello to you. Also, Al Tuttle is saying hello to Pat. Oh, you have a lot of friends over. I don't know what's wrong with these people.
They don't know me as well as they don't know me as well as you do. That's pretty obvious. No. We have some of the greatest people in the world here, and I count you all friends. And thankful to be here today, and looking forward to our hour together here.
That's absolutely fantastic. Michael St. John is scheduled to be here in a little bit. He is having a lot of things at work going on, and he is here. So we're going to bring in for his first take, and then we have in the backstage area referee Jerry Calhoun, and we will call him in. But the man that's busy, computer problems, work problems, but he knows for sure how to get this done, how to get this fixed. He knows what he's doing. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up on Friday night, he will join the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, the voice of the debut video for Hulk Hogan, the voice of the debut video for the Kamala video. Michael St. John in his house. Here he is. Hey, Michael, first take, man.
Hello, guys. Good having an opportunity to join you. It's been a very busy day. Not much sleep last night, but hey, we got things going. It's just that, I figured out, Randy, why this is all happening. We're in the super moon plus an eclipse moon tonight. And so a day ahead of it and a day afterwards you got to watch out for. So I think I got caught in the middle of a storm here, a lunar storm maybe, and but everything will work out well. I'm really looking forward to seeing you Saturday, looking forward to seeing the rest of the crew Saturday, and of course the most fun is going to be seeing all the folks that join us on this show and all the fans of Memphis wrestling, best wrestling fans in America without a doubt. And it is going to be my honor to see you guys. So thank you for the opportunity to do that.
Fired up. Hey, we had Brandon Baxter on. I pre-taped the interview this morning, and it was an hour and 40-minute interview. He said when he was a kid, when he was a young boy, and he's a young man now, but he said that he used to go to the sportatorium, and he said he actually, by the big bus, as the crew was going back to Memphis, he actually, Michael, asked for your autograph, and you signed it. So you were a big baby face.
Hey, listen, anytime anybody says hello to me, and it's just my nature, my mom and daddy did a good job, but my papa did the best job on me. And if it doesn't cost any more to be nice, it doesn't mean that you're a wimp. It doesn't mean you're a strong man. It doesn't mean you're a hero. It doesn't mean you're nobody. It just to be nice to everybody. And that's my philosophy. And one of the things I live by, and Melanie and I, my wife and I talk about this a lot. If I can make one person laugh today or one person smile today that I have interaction with, whether in business, whether here on the podcast, whatever, if I can make one man or one woman laugh or one person smile and feel good about themselves, I've done my job. And I think if America could just adopt that philosophy of making one person smile or laugh each day, just one is all you have to do, I think we'd be a much better world to live in.
Hey, are you guys ready for the legendary, as Dave Brown did an interview with me yesterday, and he says this next guest has one first name only, and that first name is referee, just referee. Are you guys ready for Jerry Calhoun to come in, Michael?
Bring him on. I'm telling you, one of the best ever step between the ropes ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, action-packed Talking Memphis Wrestling. We had Brandon Baxter, we had Pat Trammell, I have Michael St. John with us today, and it's my pleasure to bring in my friend. Hey, Jerry Calhoun, what in the world is going on with you and Debbie in Memphis, Tennessee tonight?
Oh, we're doing wonderful tonight, Randy, and I want to tell Michael St. John that he made me smile, so I hope that made his day. So,
it did. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, buddy.
I tell you, always, you got the people that, announcers. He's one of them that's got that voice, like Dave Brown and Lance Russell. You're born with that voice, you're automatic for radio or television. But I'm thank you for having me on your show, Randy, and I look forward to Saturday night meeting all my friends. Hadn't seen in a while, and it's going to be a fun time. And I want to thank you for putting it together, you and Terry. I mean, we're excited about it.
We're fired up about it, and throughout this show, we'll talk about different people. And Adam, I just want to get Jerry's first take on some of the people. I want to go, and a few people he might not know, but I don't want to go right now with the Hall of Fame people. I want to go with the people. Now, the Hall of Fame guys are going to be in the meet and greet, Jerry Calhoun. Let's go ahead and put Jerry Calhoun's deadgum picture up there. If you can find Jerry Calhoun's picture, because I want you to talk about yourself. I want you to talk about, as Dave Brown corrected me on the show he did with me yesterday, he said, I don't call him Jerry. Said his first name to me is referee. So referee, Waller did a great job of your graphic.
I can't talk about myself. That's hard to do. But yeah, I see Dave and Jerry, and we have lunch at least once a week, and so we enjoy talking about old times, and just can't say enough, and you always think about what, somebody like we had King Cobra at our lunch last week, and he brought up something that I'd, never heard of, or hadn't. He reminded me that, that we had going down the car, and policeman come up to us and said, pull over, and I was driving, and I'm thinking, okay, so I don't know what I said, but the policeman pulled out a gun on me, and I said,
Oh
"Whoa!"
no.
I said, "Cobra, you sure that was me driving?" But stuff like that when you meet other wrestlers and they start bringing up stories, and so I don't even remember it. So like when me and Jerry get together and talk about, hey, you remember this? And I say no, and then I say, you remember this? And he say no. So between us, hopefully we get 2 or 3 stories together.
One of the things, we have a question from one of our audience members, Richard Hood. He says, Jerry, how did you get in the wrestling business? So your start in the wrestling business, and maybe, unless you're kayfabing your age, you won't tell us the year, but how and when did you get into the wrestling business as the best referee I've ever seen in my whole damn life?
Oh no, Randy! I'll pay you later, Randy. Don't worry about it.
I'm
You
just
know
going
what?
to I'm just going to deduct it from your paychecks on
Okay,
Saturday.
well, whatever. No, yeah, me and Jerry were we married sisters, so we were brother-in-laws, and he lived in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and he'd come to Memphis on Friday night to go to Tupelo, and then on Saturday night they'd stay over, go to TV on Saturday, and then Jonesboro on Saturday night, and then go back to Hendersonville. But when they come in, they'd stay at Days Inn. So it got to a point sometimes, I don't know how it happened, but he said, "You want to ride with me?" I said, "Yeah." So I would be going to the towns with him on Friday night, Tupelo, and Saturday night, Jonesboro. And then he'd come to pick me up for Friday night to go to Tupelo. And he said, "You ever thought about refereeing?" I said, "Refereeing? What are you talking about?" He said, "Wrestling." I said, "No, I never have. I mean, I always loved it, always watched it, but I never thought I'd be able to referee." He said, "Come on with me to Tupelo." I mean, to Tupelo. Of course, I went with him anyway. But so we went to Tupelo and had a referee shirt. And he said, "I said, well, what am I refereeing? The first match?" He said, "No, you're refereeing the main event." I said, "Man, refereeing the main event? I don't even know what I'm doing." So the main event was Tojo Yamamoto and Jerry Jarrett against Sam Bass was managing Jerry Lawler and Jim White. So that was my first time in the ring. So didn't even know what to do. I was going back and forth between the wrestlers, and they would say, "Do this, do that, do this, do that." So eventually, I got the hang of it. But I never thought the first match I would have a main event learning how to referee. And as time went on, I guess it was just in time training to learn how to referee. But I honestly say I never had any training, had never had somebody to come up to me and say, "You need to do this, you need to do that." It's just something I picked up, I don't know how, but one way or another, I got lucky to get into business.
Hey, it was on
And,
the
and
job.
Lawler got me into business.
Yeah, on the job training, a great thing. From Birmingham, Alabama, we're going to bring in Pat Trammell. Pat, do you have any questions from the greatest referee I've ever freaking seen?
Well,
Pat?
Jared, great to see you. That was a great story. The thing that I think is maybe it's better to be the main event where guys know what they're doing rather than get 2 guys that don't know what they're doing in the ring. But I mean, I certainly have always appreciated the work you did. And what did you ever have a match that somebody just would not get with the program and you'd have to like straighten them out?
Uh, uh, if there was, I don't remember. I mean, you always have those one matches where sometimes someone would get hit accidentally and get mad, and then they'd have a little what we call a shoot between one another, and I try to separate them. But that's other than that, that's mainly everybody was doing the script what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Michael
Well,
St. John, how about you? Do you have any questions for the referee?
Jerry, I've seen you take harder bumps than any of the boys take. What is the toughest bump? What is the hardest bump you ever took?
Well, I don't know if it was a bump, but we was on TV one time, and during TV, it was Bill Dundee, and I can't remember who he was wrestling, but they got outside the ring, and I got behind Dundee, and I was trying to say, "Come on, get in the ring, get in the ring." Well, I got on the right side of him, and he went to throw the punch, and I guess I got too close, and he threw his elbow back and literally knocked me out. So I just I just laid down. I crawled back in the ring. They got back in the ring, and I told them, please go home, go home. I mean, go. I said, get the finish going, And so I just counted 1, 2, 3, and they had to help me out of there. And it literally almost broke my nose. I mean, it was just something I never forget. I said I try to stay away from it as much as I can, but as you know, if you watch the matches, it seems like I get in the way more than not.
Did you take a tougher bump in the wrestling ring or from some of your kids at PE class at the school?
Yeah, exactly. So, but especially getting, you be in in turnbuckle and somebody gets the wrestler go to throw him in the other turnbuckle and turn him around and throw him in the turnbuckle where I am. Well, that certainly hurts there. I mean, you can try to brace yourself, but you're talking about 250-pound man coming and hitting you, and I'm like at one point 170, and it hurts.
One of the things I want to ask, and I had somebody ask me, I forgot who it was, but they asked me to ask you this question and said they would like to ask it. So I will. Your thoughts of being in the ring for the first ever match at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, and that was the first match between Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. You got probably the biggest national celebrity you've ever refereed, and you got the king, your former brother-in-law, Jerry Lawler. You got him in the ring. So your thoughts of that historic match that ended up turning into a stinking movie. This is a big deal.
Little did we know that at that time, this was something that would put Memphis on the map throughout the world. I mean, it was amazing. And it was so funny, Friday night, or no, I'm sorry, Sunday night, they'd come over to my house, Lawler and Andy Kaufman, and they worked over, what would go on during the match. Plus, Monday night, they did the same thing to rehearse and said, this is what we're going to do. So they got into the ring and did their thing, and everything went as expected, So, of course, Andy got hurt and went to the hospital, but one of those things that you didn't expect.
Pat, what else for Jerry?
Well, I'm curious as to what Kaufman was like in real life, I guess.
You know what? I always related to Jimmy Valiant. You get a camera in front of Jimmy Valiant or Andy Kaufman, and you've seen how they act. I mean, they go crazy, right? Well, behind the scenes, they're just they're just amiable, quiet, and just easy going. And you wouldn't think that when you're with them behind the scenes, but that's totally different once they get that camera in front of them.
Jerry, I always said that wrestlers, to me, were the most introverted people I ever worked with. But you're 100% right. And how many boys can we talk about in that vein where behind the scenes, they're just calm, collective. They're a lot less hyper than me in the real world. And boy, you turn that camera on or you get them in the ring and all hell breaks loose and their personality comes out in there. But I've always said that about wrestlers. And the other thing I've always loved about wrestlers is they never shake your hand to break it. Never did one wrestler ever shake my hand to break it. I've shaken hands with politicians and bankers, excuse me, Pat, and lawyers that have tried to crush my hand, but never once, from Bruiser Brody right on down to Harvey Whippleman, i.e. Downtown Bruno, never once did they try to break my hand.
Yeah, most of them give you the wrestler shake, just,
exactly, the limp, exactly.
The limp hand, yeah.
Hey, Jerry, we have PJ. PJ is in Thailand, watches this show every week, loves Memphis wrestling, the biggest Jerry Lawler fan ever. And she has a good question. She says, do the referees have to train in some wrestling skills?
No, I never did. No, I don't know of anybody unless they was going to go referee and then start after that going to wrestling. But no, I never. When you referee, you pick up the wrestling holds or what they do. I mean, it's I guess if referee so many matches, especially sometimes I've worked 7 days a week and 5 or 6 nights of matches a night. So, you pick up on what they do. And certainly when I'd referee Lawler's matches, almost I could tell his opponent, said, do this, do this, do that, because I knew what Lawler was going to go do next. So I can't speak for everybody, but I didn't.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you is I remember you in a mixed tag team match, and we showed this with you on here with the show, and I don't have it available now, but it was so entertaining. It drew money. It really did part of two main events that night at the Mid-South Coliseum. I want you to speak to this. It was Bill Dundee and Jerry Calhoun in a pair of Jerry Lawler trunks, I think, I might add.
Yes.
But
What they couldn't wear anymore, but yeah, go ahead.
Against the tag team of Adrian Street, the exotic Adrian Street, and Miss Linda. I want you to tell us how tough Miss Linda was.
Well, I would think she was a man. I mean, when she hit me, I said, "My goodness, loosen up," but you know what? I that was one of my first matches that I wrestled. I think, and it's not. I should say wrestle, but I was in the ring. But yeah, I mean, she was one of the first women, I guess, that slammed a man. I mean, she picked me up and slammed me hard into the ring. So and then Adrian, he would, if you ever watch his matches, he give those forearms, right? Oh my gosh, the forearms about go right through my chest, and it's like, holy Toledo. Give me my referee shirt. I want to go back to refereeing. Get me out of this wrestling.
Was there any referees that you watched either growing up or while you were doing refereeing that you would pick up things from, or maybe try to emulate some of the things they did? Because there were some great referees in the South. I mean, we go all the way back to Pat Malone, the Green Shadow, Ronnie West, the boy James Beard, the boys over in Atlanta, French Angel. I mean, we had some great referees, but the best referees are the ones that keep order but keep out of the match. And is there anybody that you really looked up to in that regard?
Well, back in the day, I'm trying to think. I mean, I really didn't watch the referees as much as I watched the wrestlers. But if you're talking about before I got into refereeing, I was just watching the wrestlers. But I just, it's one of those ones, like I say, on the job training. I would just learn and learn and learn. And so as a referee, you need to know when get in between them and when to stay out of the way. Because I tell you, when they first start in the match, the wrestlers, babyface and heel, they really don't want to lock up and start hitting one another. So I know at that point, I get in front, I get in the middle of them. So make sure they just don't start welling on one another, because they're going to do that later. So you want to save that then. So, and then when they start getting the babyface gets the heat on the heel, then I know to stay out of the way, and then I know when to get in the way when they start to go into the finish. So, some of the times I'm involved in the finish, so that's when I get in the way.
A man that mastered
the art.
the
Not too long until the event. Night to remember. We're playing the hell out of it today. Adam, our producer, I want you to show the commercial one more time, this time with Michael St. John's voice. I want you to listen to this commercial that my producer Adam Dunn put together and Michael voiced over, and it was all great. But I want you to tell us if this sells, you think this sells tickets for Jackson coming up on Saturday night. As we watch this commercial, I hope you can see it on your phone, and we'll watch it right now. It's 30 seconds.
Remember, Saturday, September 21st, the Picture Perfect Event Center, Jackson, Tennessee. Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony comes to Jackson for the first time ever. The Rivalry of the Ages presentation to Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Also, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, the Rock and Roll Express, Danny Davis, and tons more. Exclusive meet and greet at 3:30. Event to follow. Go to MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com to purchase tickets. Saturday, September 21st, Picture Perfect Event Center, 2310 North Highland, Jackson. A night to remember.
I want to say hello to Bo James and Kingsport, King of Kingsport, Jerry Calhoun. Pat wants to ask a question. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was waving at Bo.
Okay. Jerry, did that commercial fire you up? Do you think that'll get people, did you see the commercial? Will that get people ready to buy tickets?
Oh, definitely. You're not going to charge me, are you? But if you
was
going to charge me, I pay it anyway, because I want to be there and I want to see that. Especially the ones getting inducted and seeing my old friends. It's been a long time. I'm looking forward to it.
And my question is, because I'll tell everybody, I created the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame in 1994. However, the event that we came up with that I'm so excited about, I'm calling it the Rivalry for the Ages. Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. And I hadn't told you this, but we're going to have people that's important to both wrestlers and been around both wrestlers come out during the ceremony. And you actually will have on stage a speaking opportunity to say what you think about their feud. Tell us right now, because in 1977, when Lawler and Dundee wrestled for 14 straight weeks, probably 14 of them, Jerry Calhoun was the referee. What did you think of those matches in 1977, Lawler and Dundee?
I don't think any matches back then could match what Jerry Lawler and Dundee had. You had a loser leave town, you had a car at stake, you had hair at stake, and of course, Beverly Dundee's hair was at stake, which she lost it. And I would tell anybody, if you watch the matches, you say, what's your most famous matches or top matches you refereed? I always say, go watch the matches between Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. I mean, you would think that they were really beating the hell out of one another because it was absolutely awesome. If you see some of those takes where you know it's going playing to a song and they show all bits and pieces of them, I mean, it's some of the best matches you could ever watch. And I can't say enough about please watch them, especially if you're a wrestler and you want to pick up some tips on how to do this or how to do that. You can watch them and you learn.
Michael?
I agree with exactly what Jerry said. And Jerry, the thing about it's a yin and a yang whenever you look at Lawler Dundee, both in and out of the ring. I mean, is there respect? You betcha. Is there a rub? You betcha. So there's a little bit of shoot in every Dundee Lawler match and a little bit of work in every Dundee Lawler match, but even behind the scenes in the dressing room, there's a little bit of shoot and there's a little bit of work. And I think that's just added to and Randy, I think you've got the perfect name for it, is the rivalry of the ages between these two men. And, I'm sure there's others across the country that they could say, well, this one and that one and this one and that one. But I don't think any of them carried over outside the ring as much as this one did. But I also don't think there's much that carried over inside the ring the way that this one did.
Wow.
It's interesting. If I could, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just want to say, go ahead, Michael. You couldn't say it any better. I mean, they were, they were in the ring. They respected one another, but outside the ring, you had that little shoot between the two. So yes, you nailed it.
I don't know how many times, and Randy and Michael and Jerry, you may know, if anyone knows, how many times they wrestled each other throughout their careers.
Oh,
but
no.
I was I was having a could not sleep one Friday night, and I started thinking about it, and I pulled up all the Dundee Lawler matches I could find back to back to back, YouTube. And this is the genius of it that I think isn't really talked about. None of them are the same.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
how do you dance? How do you dance with your wife for 15 years and it not be the same? They never look the same.
And the funny thing about that too, is when they get in, it's not like when they get back in the dressing room, they might talk about a few high spots, but really all the talking was done in the ring, what they're going to do. It's one of the impromptu moments and say, well, how's the crowd reacting to this? And they just, go back and forth and let's do this, let's do that. I mean, it's just amazing.
Pat, you brought up an interesting concept too, is that how many times have they gotten in the ring? You got to realize in the territory days, a lot of times that main event was bicycle. So you're going to see it in Nashville, you're going to see it in Louisville, you're going to see it in Evansville, you're going to see it in Tupelo, you're going to see it in Jonesboro. I mean, that's got to be hundreds upon hundreds of matches.
I think more like thousands of matches.
Yeah, definitely.
There is no doubt about it in the world. So I know the answer, but our people won't. We had the Memphis territory, Memphis on Monday, Louisville on Tuesday, Evansville on Wednesday, Lexington, Kentucky once a month on Thursday, Tupelo on Friday. On Saturday, we had Jonesboro, we had Nashville, we had Memphis TV. During your entire career of refereeing, you had a full-time job, and you would referee Tupelo, Jonesboro, Memphis, and TV, and you wouldn't travel very much, every once in a while, but you wouldn't go to Nashville much, or Louisville much, or Lexington much. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've been there multiple times, but it wasn't like I go there every week. But we also would have Russell on Sundays. At one point, they was running Jackson, Tennessee on Sundays. So at that point, they was running shows 7 days a week. So it got busy.
Now, am I right on this, Jerry? You have two sons, right?
Three.
Three sons. Did they? How old were they when you were at your from let's say 75 to maybe 90, 91, 2, or 93, or whenever?
Oh, they were young. They were like 2 and 4, you know. So they really weren't into wrestling. So they were young. And then the other one wasn't born yet. So
that's funny. So they don't know that, but I think they used to come with you to Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame bar and grill with you a few times, and I've met your son, and Pat's wanting to be taken off for just a second. I guess Adam is not on the controls, and so Pat, you are off the thing. Your wife Debbie, she goes to, she was there when you got inducted in 2017 to the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. However, when you were refereeing every Monday night, you hadn't met Debbie yet. What does she think about the whole thing? And more, let's face it, you're one of the most known people from Memphis Wrestling, referee Jerry Calhoun. How does Debbie react to that attention you get?
Oh, well, she loves it. She loves to go to the matches and she meet people, and she just eats it up. I mean, she loves it every time we have something like coming up for Saturday. Also, when they have the Hall of Fame, and when we go for signing events, you know. And recently we've been in Evansville, Indiana, and then Jonesboro, Arkansas, your hometown.
Right.
So she loves that.
Did I tell
Matter
you
of fact, before she met me, she used to watch WWF at that time all the time. So I can't believe I got in a part of wrestling, you know, with dating you. I said, well, you got a little part of it.
Hey, did you wonder why I wasn't at Jonesboro? My hometown, I did not come.
Well, I don't know why. Why weren't you there?
Because my hometown, I got a great platform here on the radio every week with the wrestling hour. They wanted me to come, but they weren't going to pay no money. Zero.
That's a good point.
I quit doing this for free. Now, you remember when I was a kid in Jonesboro, when you make fun of me, as a matter of fact, let me get this right here. And I think you will remember this. This is the microphone that Lance Russell used to do interviews on Monday night and also do the commentary on Monday night. And Jerry Calhoun tells the story. In 1977, I was a freshman in high school, and they asked me to announce, and Jerry ribs me and makes fun of me or whatever, because my voice was shaking. And is this what my microphone was doing, JC?
It was, exactly. I said, we're thinking we're going to talk Lawler in the ring. I said, is he for real? I mean, is this kid going to be an announcer? And then look what happened. After that, you got a little experience behind you, and you turn into a hell of an announcer, Randy.
And
but you had to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, to have to talk somewhere. Just as you were making fun of yourself earlier, that you kind of said that when I was putting you over, because you do great stuff and great on this show, but you said when I did my first promo 30 years ago, remember saying that to me today on the phone? You said I wasn't very good. Well, everybody was at that point.
Well, I tell you, a little story on that. You know, you're 77, right? I started in 1976, and we were going out to a match, you know, on TV, and Lawler stopped me and he said, "Go by the desk. Lance wants to interview you." Now I'm thinking, what? What does he want to ask me about? I mean, I like to be prepped yourself so I can prepare myself. And he said, "No, just go on. He's going to ask you a few questions." So I go up to Lance, and Lance asked this question. I don't even know what it was, and I can't remember how I answered it. But all I know is my voice just changed. Instead of a normal voice, I got like one of these. Well, you know, Rance, when I'm in the ring, where did that voice come from? I mean, it was like, holy mackerel, you know. And I had that TV camera with the red light on. I said, I just wasn't used to that, so I can certainly relate to you when you're the first time announcing.
And so we've known each other a long time, and you
Yes.
come to Jonesboro every Saturday night, and that was a good old days. And I've told the story again. I'm repeating stuff, but it's been a while since you've been on the show. The fans, when the wrestlers would do a hot finish where the bad guys, the heels, would cheat to win, a lot of times, especially if it wasn't a good heel that knew how to hide that from the referee, the heat would go on the referee. One night, that kind of happened, and you were buried a little bit by the heels. You went back, and this guy that I went to school with, and he was a thug, a troublemaker. He's probably been in prison the last 40 years, but in the old American Legion Arena in Jonesboro, I've mentioned this before, and you don't remember it, but you had to kind of duck under the bleachers, and the fans could reach down, and this guy, and he was high school age, but he sucker punched the hell out of you. I mean, the hell out of you, and just without missing a beat, you freaking clocked him.
Wow, Randy, that's another one though. It said, did I really do that? I can't remember that one. You think something like that you would remember, but unfortunately, I didn't. I know that you know, Jonesboro, one of the heat towns for Lawler, you know, when he was a heel.
Oh,
so
yeah.
After the matches, when we go to the car, and then, you know, at one point, sometimes somebody got a brick and threw it right through his windshield. So I mean, there's always trying to mess with his car, you know, because they hated him. I mean, he got heat. You know how Lawler was when he was a heel.
Oh, yeah. Best
And
ever.
Jonesboro was one of the worst ones.
Without a doubt. Right now, we're going to interrupt this conversation right now. Michael St. John, final take. I'm not kicking Michael St. John, but the most precious thing in his life. And Jerry, I don't know if you have grandchildren. This is the granddaddy of all granddaddies, and Michael St. John, and his grandson is there, and Michael wants to go play. Michael, final take going into your induction this coming Saturday night to the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Let me add, I had my grandson about 3 or 4 months ago, so you know.
Oh, good.
Unfortunately, he doesn't live in Memphis. He lives in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Well, but when you get to see him, the moments of precious. He came in here a minute ago and peeked between the monitors, and he said, "I'm upstairs." And so, but anyway, you folks will get to see him Saturday. He's coming, and looking forward to seeing everybody. Jerry, it's always a pleasure seeing you, man. You're the best. And Pat, you and I talk more often than probably anybody else but we don't see each other as often, even though we still eat and like to eat at the same great place in Birmingham out on Findlay Avenue, but hopefully get to see you early on Saturday and spend some time. And Randy, I can't wait. You put together. I'm getting on social media. I'm getting vibes on people that have heard about it and seen it through other means other than the ones we put on with Fun Radio. But you and the guys up there have done a fabulous job putting this together, and I can't wait to see all of you, because you know Randy is and Jerry and Pat, I think we'll all agree on this. Randy is one of those people that he when he has an idea, he knows exactly what to do to manifest that idea to make it great. And this is going to be a great event because of you, Randy. And God bless you, and thank you very much. And all the folks here, I can't wait to see all of you. Please come up and say hi and introduce. Please. Jerry, I'll see you Saturday. Pat,
Okay, good to see you, Michael. I appreciate
seeing you. And Randy, I'll see you Saturday.
All right. Thank you, Michael St. John.
God bless everybody.
Give a big hug for your grandson.
I'll do it. Thank you.
All right. I cannot believe that Do you have? I think you've told me, but you're so close to your sons and now you have the grandchildren. Do you have anybody in Memphis now, or we have
Oh
one
yeah,
in Massachusetts?
yeah. I got
Smarten us
my
up.
I got my oldest son. He's in Memphis. He lives downtown. He's a CEO of a contracting firm, and my middle boy, he works. He's in Silver Spring, Maryland, and he works for USA Today. And he also has a podcast working talking about Tennessee Vols. So he's big into that. And then my youngest one just got his doctorate degree in teaching. So he's looking for a job right now, and he lives in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Hey, let's talk some football a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. This past Saturday, man, I was bleeding tiger blue. It was Florida State University. It was the University of Memphis that I still call Memphis State University. The
You and
time,
Nick Saban.
Yeah, of course.
hey, will that loss and the three losses by Norvell this season so far, and they're all 0-3, will that third loss to the University of Memphis cost Norvell his job?
Well, I don't know. I just heard, through one of our lunches that he just signed a contract. Either it was 60 or 80 million dollars. So, if they get rid of him, they're going to have to shell out some money to do it.
You're exactly right. You know, we've both been through times in Memphis. Memphis has always been a basketball town. It really has been. But over the last several years, and did Norvell start the run for Memphis State, taking the leap? Did he start the run as coach?
Uh, I want to say it was Fuentes. I
That's
think,
right.
and
That's
then
right.
he started it, and then it started going. Then he hired Novell as his assistant, one of his assistants, and then of course Silverfield was under Norvell, and he took the job. So yeah.
Now, Pat, we don't need you because Jerry and I are obviously, he lives in Memphis. I have in the past. You're from stinking Birmingham, Alabama, so you're going to sing the praises because you've already had to sneak in real quick. You interrupted Jerry, but you had said Nick Saban, Nick Saban. That's all you. He's no longer there, Pat.
I know
Yeah.
that. I know that. But he said, look. This is what he said. The first week on college football game day, they were asking about what group of five school may get into the football playoff, and he said, I like Memphis State, and so he got a lot of heat for saying Memphis State. Well, this
Yeah, he
Saturday,
did.
they were picking the games, and he said, I'm not saying Memphis State because I get a lot of heat for that, but it's the University of Memphis, and I'm picking the University of Memphis over Florida State straight up.
Mhm.
So he's a
Yeah, he
fan, and I'm
did.
a fan. Yeah.
Well, I'm a Memphis fan, but I always grew up, when I was 13, 14 years old, started following Tennessee Vols. So I've been a Tennessee Vol fan since then.
One thing, Arkansas State University, the Red Wolves, they opened the season 2-0, and they went. I thought they were going to get beat, Jerry. They went to Michigan this past Saturday against the defending national champions, and I thought they were going to get beat 100-0. They did not. They did lose, but it was 28-18 against the defending national champions. That's not embarrassing, would you think, Jerry?
No, not at all. The point spread was 22 points. So I was looking at that and I'm thinking, I'm a bet man. I might take Michigan, give up the points. Boy, I'm glad I didn't. You know, Arkansas State can hang their hat on that one because
I,
you stay within 10 points of the one that won the whole thing last year. So, I mean,
if you
that's something.
if you spend money on your phone, you can get just about anything uh, on uh, Sirius XM. You can listen to the games with the
Yeah,
radio announcers. And
yeah.
I listened to the second half of Arkansas State and Michigan, and they played well. They played really well.
I watched it. I saw it. I watched
Yeah,
it.
Now,
yeah.
let me ask you the question. This is not just a wrestling show, sports, news, whatever. I do everything but politics. Now,
There you go.
Jerry and I kind of had a politic discussion on the phone the other day, but that's personal between two friends. I want to ask you this, and this is a sensitive question from Tiger fans. I want to know if you follow the Volunteers, the Tennessee
Yeah.
Volunteers, and what do you think of they've had some blowouts, man. They've had some
Yeah.
blowouts. What do you think?
Oh, well, it hadn't been much competition. I mean, they got a high-powered offense, and with the Nico, and I'm not going to try to say his last name because every time I do, I butcher it. But he's really hopefully he's going to be one of the Heisman Trophy winners, coming up. They they just got a defense. They got they got a defensive line where they can, substitute four times, of players just each time, so it's I can't wait. The true test will come this weekend when they're playing Oklahoma. So, and they'll be playing Oklahoma during the Hall of Fame night. I try to see if
Absolutely.
I can
Y'all
sneak
probably
it on my phone.
yeah, you'll have the phone. Doug Gilbert for sure will. One last
Yeah, Doug will too.
two football questions. First of all, Richard Hood asked Pat, "Are you ready for the Alabama Georgia game?" Because I could care less. How about you?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I would not have given us a puncher's chance uh, after Alabama's first game and Georgia's first game, but Kentucky brought Georgia down to earth a little bit, and we got some tackles, offensive tackles back. We played a little bit better, so we'll see what's happening. I mean, it's all house money at this point.
My last question about football to Jerry Calhoun is talking about we'll move leagues, we'll move to the NFL, we'll move to the Titans. What are your thoughts? And I might be a little bit behind, but I don't think I am. What was the name of the coach, Jerry? Mike Variable or whatever. What was that coach's name?
For who?
For the Titans, and
It's Brian Callahan.
But who was it last year? And for several years.
Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
What did you think it was time for a change? And what do you think about the start so far for the Titans?
Well, yeah, my middle boy Caleb, he's a big Titans fan, so he could talk about that forever. But it was a surprise that they got rid of Mike Vrabel, and to me, I think they need a quarterback. So I'm a Colts fan, and so we got Anthony Richardson from Florida. Of course, he got hurt last year, and he played the first two games this year, and of course, we lost him. So hopefully, he'll get some experience behind him where he can pull out some wins coming up. And as far as the Titans, I think Titans might have a long year. Especially if you saw the highlights of if you saw any of it when Will Levis threw that ball, behind him trying to throw it to one of his running backs, and they fumbled it. The running back did, and they picked it up, and I don't know if they scored, but they did eventually score. So the coach got going to the sidelines. The coach got right into his face, and you could see what he was saying to him. And it wasn't anything nice. But I think they got a long year.
Love sports, love talking sports. About 13 minutes left to go in the show. We are rounding third. We're heading home, and we're coming close, just about 4 days, to a night to remember. The Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame will be right there with you with 10 inductees. Also, the rivalry for the ages, Lawler and Dundee. It is a packed event with the meet and greet starting at 3:30. Then at 7 o'clock, the ceremonies start, the Power Pro KW reunion. There's so much names, and I'm telling you, folks, these people, all these legends in this building under one roof, this won't happen with this group again, everybody together. I can guarantee you. It started for me as a wrestling fan in 1971 when I was 10 years old. I was lucky enough to sell pictures. I was lucky enough Eddie Marlin. Like me, I was lucky enough to get into business in 1994. I was lucky enough to come up with the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame idea. I was lucky enough to start the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I consider it's my legacy to keep the legend and memories of Memphis Wrestling alive. I want Jerry to watch the monitor, and hopefully he can see it, because I want to go to the clip side, Adam, and I don't know if Jerry's ever seen this. The thing that got me the booking job was the Monday Night Memory Show on March the 7th, 1994. Tried to get Hart still working for WCW. They wouldn't let him do it, but he said, I'll write you a song. And it's the perfect song for Memphis Wrestling. And your longtime guy that you knew as well as I did, Randy West, put this video together. We're going to watch Monday Night Memories as we're on. As Adam says, he doesn't think it's on here, and that was a big thing. And I am looking.
I love that video, by the way. I love that video.
And
awesome.
It's just absolutely fantastic. And now we'll go to Monday Night Memories. Harry, just listen to the word.
Yeah.
Stuck back in my drawer. It was faded. It was torn. I couldn't wait till I looked inside. Some are gone, some are still alive. I watched them every Saturday on TV. I couldn't wait till they climbed in the ring. Monday night memories are all I have to remind me of you. Jerry Lawler, he's the king. Austin Idol, superstar Dundee. Handsome Jimmy, he's so cool. Jimmy Hart acted like a silly fool. I watched them every Saturday on TV. I couldn't wait till they climbed in the ring. Monday night memories are all I have to remind me of you.
Did you referee any of Plowboy Frazier's matches, JC?
Oh my gosh, a lot of them. A lot of them. Matter of fact, me and Lawler and them used to go up and down the road together.
Did he ever sell you a bogus Rolex?
Oh my God. Not only that, I bought a pair of shoes from him at the TV station on Saturday morning. I wore the shoes to Jonesboro when we had Jonesboro matches that night. The shoes didn't last the whole night. Both heels broke on me. And I think the Rolex watch stopped the next day. He was a salesman.
Oh, absolutely.
He said, hey, neighbor, you want to buy something? Yeah, a lot of good memories of him with going up and down the road together.
Eddie Marlin, my mentor, Buddy Wayne, Guy Coffey. They never changed.
I love Guy Coffey to death, man. We would play cards all the time. The game, I forget what the game was called. I want to say casino, but I can't remember now. But we would always play cards before Monday night, Saturday morning, and a couple of times on Saturday morning when we were playing, I could hear Eddie Marlin saying, "Go get in the ring. We've already started." And I'd be back in the back. We'd be playing cards. I said, "Okay, I'm on my way."
That was one of the times in '94 that you were involved in other stuff and you were around, and that was my baby. We did 9,700 people in 1994, and we did $39,997, and it's an event that still we're doing this Jackson show based on Monday Night Memories based on the first night of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I'm so excited about it. And you entered the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame at the Jerry Lawler Hall of Fame Bar and Grill in 2017. So, of everything we're doing, what are you looking forward to the most? And I'll give you a warning. Came rolling in the Meppo TWA. He'll be in Jackson. Tell all the ladies Handsome Jimmy's on the way. He's a rocker. He's a roller. He's a little fucky too. He was raised by a gypsy. You know, Handsome's cool. I will warn you of this because he'll be sneaking around. Make sure Handsome Jimmy don't come up and surprise you by kissing you right on the mouth because Debbie will be mad.
Hey, he did that many a times in the ring, and not only that, before the match started, he would just pick me up and throw me across the ring. So a lot of memories on that. And like I said, I can't wait to meet all the guys again because it's been so long, and some of them I hadn't seen for years. So I'm looking forward to it, and I can't say enough about you and Terry putting this on and let me be a part of it. And I appreciate it, Randy, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm looking forward to it.
We appreciate you. We'll get you out of here in just a second. Pat, one last thing to the referee.
Well, Jerry, it's been great to meet you. Look forward to meeting you in person. Different perspective. Something came to my mind. You know, when you're riding the roads, the baby faces and the heels can't ride together, right?
Right.
Who does the referee ride with?
Well, mainly I would ride with Lawler, and if me
Okay.
and Lawler didn't, if I have something to say about that real quick, Dyersburg, me and Mike Stark, who was humongous, would ride together a lot too. If I didn't ride with Lawler, and he was a baby face, so we went to Dyersburg, Tennessee, had the matches. Well, Paul Orndorff was needed to ride back to Memphis, and he said, "Hey, can I ride with you?" And I'm thinking, well, look, I got a baby face, humongous. I don't think it's a good idea. Oh, come on. So he sort of twisted my arm. I said, okay, you can ride. So here I had a baby face on the hill, which is a no-no. So we was going back to Memphis. And at some point, in Dyersburg, I must have stopped at a light, and some girls that were at the matches saw us, and eventually got back to Jerry Jarrett. And he said,
Uh-oh.
fire them all. So I said, oh, I didn't know anything about it till that was on a Saturday, and I didn't know anything about it till the following Thursday when we was in some Helena, Arkansas, I think it was. And that's when Lawler told me, he said, you know, you've been fired, don't you? I said, no. And then he told me what Jerry Jarrett said, and I said, oh, no. So eventually he really didn't fire me. He just let me keep working. But I think the other two guys, he laid them off for a little while.
All right. Anything else to Jerry, Pat?
No, Jerry, thank you so much for being on. We could talk all night about
I'm telling you.
referee stories. You've seen both sides of it for sure, but certainly look forward to seeing you Saturday night.
Final comment.
Same here, Pat. Hope to see you too.
Yes,
Final
sir.
comments because Jerry Calhoun, I'm sure, will be rolling in to Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised if you come with Jerry Lawler, if you come with Dave Brown, all you guys, the lunch click together again. But final words as we get set for Saturday night at the Picture Perfect Event Center on North Highland in Jackson, Tennessee. Meet and greet at 3:30. The festivities start at 7 o'clock. It will be a night to remember. Final words from Jerry Calhoun.
I hope everybody shows up and comes out to see some of their favorites that they used to watch when they was growing up, and they will have a great time. And I love to see the people, and I hope to meet a lot of them and bring back memories, especially when they tell me what memories they have of me and other wrestlers. So, like I said, it's just a blessing, and I thank Randy for putting it on, and looking forward to it. And thank you.
You're a great guest, man. Tell Debbie that her friend Randy says hello, and we'll see you. Tell her she needs to come up and give me a big hug.
Oh, she'll do that, Randy, because she loves hugs.
All right. Thank you for spending your time with us, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I'll see you Saturday night.
All right.
Both of y'all. Pat and you.
Referee Jerry Calhoun. What a stinking day, man. I need to run around and roll around in my chair and bust my head on the wall and everything else because I'm excited. Pat, 4 days away. Jackson, Tennessee, you will be rolling in on a Friday. I think we're all staying. Have you got us motel rooms yet?
I'm working on that right now.
How many do we need?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We can talk about that offline.
Why not just, I'd like doing booking meetings here. Adam 2 days, Randy 2 days.
Okay,
Who else? Pat 2 days.
that's right.
I think
Michael.
Michael is not staying over.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to him about it.
I think he told me that earlier in the day, and I can't think of anybody else. Can you?
Yeah, I'm picking somebody else up, a friend of mine. So friends of the show. So
Are you not going to tell me?
no, because they may not want you. They may not want it announced to the world.
All right. It'd be that way. Is Wyatt and DeQuan coming?
We're still working on that one. Still
Hey,
working
by
on
the
that.
way, Chris Ellis plans to be there as BC Collins is coming from North Carolina. You know, we tried to make it happen, Pat. We wanted PJ here as well. And I want to tell people this is a little bit of exclusive. In the beginning, the plan was for us to broadcast this. We were going to shoot, and we're still going to shoot for a DVD. This will be recorded. Eventually, you can see it. We were wanting to do a pay-per-view. We could not make that happen. We could not make that happen. That won't happen. However, depending on the internet at the building, we will do cut-ins on my platforms, probably do it on the Randy Hill Show platform, and we will do cut-ins on all 3 Facebook pages, on the YouTube page, both YouTube pages, on Twitter X, on Twitch, on everything. If we can broadcast the whole thing, we are. But Pat, would you rather watch it on a silly video, or would you like to be in the same building and see these great legends? Which would you rather have?
I would rather be live and in person. It's always better live and in person. And I hope as many of our friends as can get there and do it, come out. And as Michael said, please say hello because I want to meet all of you. Pat, look forward to seeing you especially.
All right. The Hall of Fame. These are the guys that's going to be there. Danny Davis, the Nightmare, inducted by his nephew Doug Basham. Sir Mo of Men on the Mission. The Rock and Roll Express, inducted by Kerry Morton. We will see the Dirty White Boy, inducted by Doug Gilbert. Dr. Tom Pritchard, inducted by Pat Rose's former partner. PG-13 with a special induction. The Spellbinder, inducted by the owners, the founders, the president of Power Pro Wrestling, the creator of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. My honor to induct the Spellbinder into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. From KEW and MCW Wrestling. He's from Jackson, Tennessee. It was his brainchild to do some kind of reunion show that I turned into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame event. Terry Golden, inducted by his son. Plus, we have 2 very special videos that we will show for Terry Golden. And the headliner, as it should be, from New York City, Handsome Jimmy Valiant. So many more people will be there. Michael St. John, I thought we were done. How can we forget our man Michael St. John? He will be inducted by Chris Ellis and Pat Trammell to the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame and inducted by his nephew, Nightmare Danny Davis, inducted, and he will be in his hometown, returning for the first time in, I bet, 30 years, coming to Jackson, Tennessee. That's not all at all. You will see the tribute to Lawler and Dundee. You will see referee Jerry Calhoun. I'll be there. Brandon Baxter will be there. Power Pro KEW. You will see Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert. You will see cousin Carl Fergie. You will see, if I didn't say it, former USWA Tag Team Champions Tommy Rich and Doug Gilbert, the Birdman, Coco Ware. Pat Rose will be there from your part of the country. There is so much great talent that's absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. If Adam can throw up any graphic of any names that I had forgot, everybody will be in the Hall of Fame for sure. Want to close the show right now to wish a happy birthday today. Pat, want to do happy birthday to none other than the Louisville Lip himself. Jim Cornette is 63 years old today. Pat Drummond.
How about that? 2017 Memphis Hall of Fame inductee. Got his start in the dressing room at Memphis, where Jarrett famously said, "You know, Jimmy, if you're a big a pain in the ass on the mic as you are back here, you got a future in this business, son." And he certainly has.
No doubt about it. Last take, real quick, Pat Drummond, as we're rounding third.
Well, just a great night. Great to be here. Look forward to the weekend. Enjoyed visiting with Jerry and getting a unique perspective, and glad to see all our friends again. It's been a long week for me, but looking forward to the weekend.
Looking forward to see you Friday as Pat Rose. And Pat, I've probably said about 15 times on the show, because you just smarted off. You need to be smart enough to the fact that I've mentioned multiple times you will be there. You will be inducting Tom Pritchard into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You know, Pat, it's been a long time I've had to deal with egos of wrestlers. It's been a long time. Scott, I want you to come down there, the photographer you are, and I want you to come down and shake my hand, shake Pat Trammell's hand. I will, as a matter of fact, I ordered more books, and I was low on books. I have plenty of books, and those of you that hadn't heard my story, I think you will enjoy very much. It's a night to remember, and folks, after about 6 weeks of doing these shows, about 6 weeks, maybe 8, it was April when we came up with the idea. It was May when we set it for Jackson, Tennessee. There's been a lot of work done. There's banners up. There's billboards up in Memphis, Tennessee. There's posters all over Jackson. The Jackson media, the television, the radio, all the sponsors that's making this a go. It's a happening. It's a gathering. It's an event that you can't miss it. To quote your old Georgia Championship Wrestling guy that said every week, tell us what Freddie Miller, when he did the out of town, what did he say every week?
I don't remember.
He said, don't miss it. Be there. And I'm telling you, people, once in a lifetime. Tickets available now. You can scan that QR code, which will go away when this show goes away, but won't go away. It's MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com. The direct link will send you to the link to purchase tickets, and we have still a few VIP tickets left, the front row platinum. Get you in, get you ahead of line. It's the best deal. It's $75. You need to be VIP platinum. You can see these legends. Ronnie says that autograph book that you sent me a while back, I've read it a couple of times, to one of my favorite wrestling possessions, and I think he's talking to somebody else, not me. I'm fired up. I'm excited. And Adam Dunn will be in the house. Pat, have you ever met Adam Dunn?
I don't know that we've ever met in person. We seem like we've known each other all our lives, but I look forward to that.
Adam is the only person in the Talking Memphis Wrestling family of hosts and producers that was not able, that's before we became real close, tighter than tight. and Adam wasn't there, but he will be in Jackson. Man, a night to remember. Pat, thank you for being here. I want to thank, if everybody just joined us later in the show, you missed the first hour and 41 minutes, and Pat, I encourage you to go back and watch the archive. The Brandon Baxter long form interview I did for about an hour and 40 minutes was emotional, it was exciting, it was informative, it was absolutely fantastic for sure. It was a blast. It really was.
Absolutely, BC.
All right. Hey, folks, we've done it. We almost made it. And I encourage everyone that can, because BC is coming from North Carolina. PJ wanted to come from Thailand. We couldn't make that happen, but we're so excited to see everybody. Eddie Austin will be right there in his home area. He'll be there. I'll probably put him to work, but this is great. You're great. And this concept of doing these shows, talking Memphis wrestling, the hell with talk, coming up Saturday night in Jackson, Tennessee at the Picture Perfect Event Center on North Highland Drive in Jackson, Tennessee. The Gathering, the night to remember. It'll be a can't miss event, and we'll see you there. Until then, I don't know what Adam has planned for when I say bye, but I'll say bye by doing it this way. For Pat, for Chris, for Michael St. John, for Brandon Baxter here earlier, for referee Jerry Calhoun, for producer Adam Dunn. I love Team Hills. I'm looking forward to this event. Until then, Pat, wave goodbye. I'll wave goodbye. I'm Randy Hills. Good night, everybody.
Hey everybody, this is Robert Gibson, one half of the Rock and Roll Express, and I'd like to invite everybody out September the 21st in Jackson, Tennessee for the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can also go to memphiswrestlinghalloffame.com and get your tickets.
Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. It will be a night to remember. Be there for the FanFest meet and greet at 3:30, featuring Jerry the King Lawler, Superstar Bill Dundee, the Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Jerry Calhoun, Michael St. John, and more. The legends of Memphis Wrestling return to Jackson Saturday, September 21st at the Picture Perfect Event Center. Tickets are on sale now. Go to Eventbrite and search Official Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guest